The CoCo Nation Show is an unscripted, live, and interactive broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own, and not necessarily those of the CoCo Nation Show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds are encouraged, and a sense of humor is recommended. Thank you for being a part of the CoCo Nation.
Radio Shack? Okay.
What?
The 80s called.
Welcome to the CoCo Nation, the world's first live and interactive talk show featuring the Tandy color computer and its hardware cousins.
Wakey, wakey. Well, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Oh, got daydreaming about my time at Radio Shack. Oh, let's see. Welcome, episode 328, properly labeled this time. And let's see, on the panel, we've got me in the upper corner. Next over, we got Patrick Euland. You're muted.
Oh, oops, I did it again.
Oh, just like me falling asleep on the intro. Let's see. Next up, Ron Delvaux.
Ron's Garage. How you doing?
All right, pretty good. L. Curtis Boyle.
Welcome to the show, everyone.
Okay. Then we've got Marco.
Hello there. Glad to be here.
Caught him by surprise. Let's see. Next up, Kevin.
Hello, everybody.
Okay. Then we got Sloopy.
Greetings and sanitations.
And Ken Waters.
I'm feeling particularly evil today.
Saw the cat sneaking in the window earlier, too.
Like every day.
Not half as evil as cats can be, though.
No kidding. Let's see. Here's a couple new scratches today. All right. Next row, we've got Brian Weasler.
Hello, all. Welcome to the show.
Show us that shirt. There you go.
Little dragon going on here. So,
all right. This show sometimes does drag on.
Sometimes.
And next up, we have Tim Lindner in 2-bit graphics.
My own special dithering. Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
Okay. Next up, we got Alan.
Howdy, everyone.
And we got Nick Marentes.
Hello, everyone. I made
There's a big announcement today.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
All
And it's
right.
not just that he's awake.
So which color is the Ferrari this time?
Neutroid 5 coming soon. Oh, jeez.
All right. Next row, we got
Neutroid until he gets it right.
Yeah, that's the way to subtitle it.
All right, next up we got Jason.
Hello. I've got my Diet Dr. Pepper, and I'll see some of you at VCF Midwest next week.
All right, and last but not least, Mr. Dr. Pepper himself, David Ladd.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Please stay a while. Enjoy.
Stay forever. Haven't you heard that?
Okay, I guess there's a portal over there or something.
You know, we should have an intro contest sometime.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
You know, give an award to the best intro.
Intro skit.
Everybody sits here thinking of something to say that's, you know, cheeky or something, you know.
Well,
Give
Who
him a
can be the
little-
loudest? Who can be?
we don't
make-
get an award for the end of the show.
The end of the show is our award.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely the audience's reward.
Thankfully,
Punishment
it's
stops.
over.
Everyone wins with the end of the show.
Yeah, but Ron, you never know what will come out from someone for a intro.
You're oversharing again, David.
Okay.
So,
in
who
the
won
chat
this week's?
today.
Creepy.
Who won this week's?
I was going to say this week's trivia question. Answer is Orson Welles on that stupid 8-track video game thing. Mattel put out. Someone at that "Stay for a while, stay forever." That was a quote from an old video game. It was actually based on 8-track.
Possible mission.
Mission. Yeah,
Oh, and then
on
it
the
was
Commodore
used in,
64.
then it was used in that as well. Okay, it goes back before that.
Orson Welles did it first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Basically, Commodore ripped that off.
Cool. So we've got him at last.
Well, epics at least.
Epics, yeah.
Okay, Mark, take show over again.
Please.
Okay. I was gonna give an introduction to the chat here. Let's see who we got running around here. Oh, we got Exile on Paradise, Curtis, Marco, Geek with Social Skills. So I know who it's not.
Hi, Sean. Mark, your
DJ
voice is
Chris.
kind of low.
Yeah, you are a bit low, Mark.
Man,
You
I
should
haven't
sound
done-
like a booming guy in charge, not, like a
Well-
guy in the back room.
You know,
He's
I've got
just
them
trying to
linked
stay
up
away
all
from
the way.
us. He's distancing himself.
Tell you what, while I figure this out, why don't one of you guys take over the chat introduction there? While I figure out what
Okay,
the
where did you
buttons
leave off? Or should I just start over?
are. Geek with Social Skills, and then we got Jim Rye.
Okay, we got TGB Chris, who will also be taking part in SepTandy. Tom Eric Gunderson, all the way from Europe. Sixie, also known as Kieran, all the way from the UK. Franklin Harris from Retro Rewind. Facebook user. That's they have to do something special to get it to show up in our chat here. So
It's a family name.
I'll post the link.
I think I saw mention too that trying to scroll through here quick. David Kraker's here. Mark Siegel's here. And I think the rest of the people are on the panel already and have already been introduced. So that kind of covers everybody.
Yeah, well, I got this thing up all the way, so I don't know how I can get it any better.
Maybe just move the mic a bit closer to your mouth, maybe?
Well, I mean, it's already right there. Anywhere else, it's going to get a little too much like David Ladd.
I think it was when you cut down Ron's garage, it cut your mic as well somehow because you were right up there and now you're not.
Well, early on, it was real low too, and then all of a sudden, it just popped right up, which is weird. 'Cause my mic is on a whole different computer.
First world problems.
Right.
Are you running your microphone through a Commodore 64?
No.
Really?
He's using a CoCo as a preamp.
But
Oh, you said other computer.
which is
Just
kind of
speak-
weird because I'm coming in just like another Zoom user. I'm not in OBS at all.
Try and speak louder, maybe.
I think he sounds fine.
Okay.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, it's understandable.
You're just a little
Just
quiet.
a little quieter.
Okay. Well, tell you what. Why don't we let's take a look at some project updates. Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll jump out there since I have no structure
Hey.
or planning.
Planning. When did that start?
Planning? What's planning? So, yeah, important product announcement. Due to overwhelming customer demand, in other words, I got an email. I made a new adapter, which will allow you to, let's see if I can do this properly. Here's my new little adapter. And what it allows you to do is plug an old chiclet keyboard into your CoCo 2 or CoCo 3. Don't know why you would do that, but you can do it
Yeah.
now. Actually, someone had a full travel keyboard for an early model CoCo one they want to reuse. So this lets them do that. So anyway,
Huh.
I made one. I made two, so I have at least one for anyone who might need one. I'll never run out. Then I have another. Oh, don't send me away yet. I'm still playing. So I have a new product idea that I wanted to show everyone. And I'm going to call them PB Splats. Just dip them in some hot coffee, attach them to your forehead, and you can look like a real hacker, just like me.
Check
Like
that
a
out.
What's that?
It's
Star Trek.
Is that what Curtis did?
Terminator.
Yeah,
or
that
something.
looks
That
like
might
me
be
trying to
what
solder, and I
Sandy
keep missing.
did. And you know, if you want custom ones, we do have custom ones. We have a splat as a pancake. That's one you can get. Or my soul creature, Bill the Splat.
Oh, wow.
I really like Bill the Splat. I think I'm going to wear him to the CoCo Fest.
So can you
Looks like
guarantee that?
gunshots.
Can you guarantee that
Gunshots
each and
and,
every one's exactly the same, or?
No, they're just random crap.
Oh,
This was
okay.
just
Custom.
a fun thing.
They're each
Yeah, right.
unique.
So there you go. And now, you know,
I used
It
to,
looks like
I used to
It
make
looks
them
like
with
you've
hard
been shot
drives.
at.
Are you going to be with us by the end of the show?
Okay, Sloopy next, then Nick.
So have any of us soldering types have ever gotten lead poisoning? We should have.
no,
Not that I'm
it's
aware of.
not. The fumes are rosin fumes, so you might get some kind of rosin fuse poisoning. But actually, getting lead out of solder is a lot more difficult than you think.
Yeah, I was going to say I've bit my solder, I've handled the solder, I've done everything with it since I was right before I was a teenager. So I've been using it since then. Of course, that might
I think
that might be why I act the way I am.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
we all
I
are
don't
the
think
way
it's
we are.
recommended to eat solder.
Doing it.
I just got a new roll of solder here, and it's got all these warnings on it, like do not eat.
Wow.
Yeah, Frank Canero says unless you lick it, it's usually not a problem.
I use leaded paint
I'll go with that.
from the time I started lettering signs until 2002 or 3 when they changed it.
Are you guys
And,
saying I should give up my milliner hobby?
Well,
Yeah,
that's
the mercury-
okay.
Yeah, the
When I
mercury's
was a
great.
teenager, I used to play with the. My dad had a jar that he would stow all of the mercury from the thermostats in, and I
Right.
used to play with dump some out in my hand, and I played with it for hours.
Oh,
That-
that explains that explains even more, David. Isn't that what
That
hatters
does, yeah.
Mm.
They became mad?
As a hatter.
So evidently the fix was the kind of drink that you use.
Yeah.
That sets you up. You're supposed to say, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Did I hear Sloopy as a project update?
You're up, Sloopy.
I do.
Okay.
I didn't
fine.
hear that.
Rick, how's my project update?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Along with the photon torpedoes.
Yes, my project update is the new CoCo 3 and CoCo 2B drive wirelessly boards will be premiering at VCF Midwest.
And that's next weekend.
Yes, that's next weekend, and there's a special surprise on them that will be announced at VCF Midwest.
Oh, it better not be what I'm thinking it is.
Yes, it is.
Oh, fudge, I'm in trouble.
What are you thinking it is?
We'll get the details next week here.
Okay.
Actually, are you guys going to be able to pop in and give us some updates from the show? Any one of you that are attending?
Yeah, because I'm giving Ken my phone so that he can actually do something kind of streaming like, because evidently he had issues with his phone streaming last year, and I have no problems with my phone streaming. It's just that the source content is
I didn't have any problems with streaming last year. I just tried to log in and my phone completely erased Zoom.
yeah. Well, That's a problem in streaming.
No, there was no streaming involved. It was just it erased the
Never got
app.
that far.
Yeah. So my phone doesn't have any problem with it because I mean I reported from VCF East before and such. So my problem just has a source material problem, and I think that if I give it to Ken, that'll fix that problem and everything will be good.
Cool. I just want to make sure we have some representation out there since a fair number of you are going this year. So
I'm sure Grant will be out there streaming.
Yes, probably. Or so will I. I'll be annoying a few people like Adrian, AJ,
Taylor and Amy.
maybe Ben Heck,
Basically everyone.
8-bit guy.
Brian, are you ready?
Nah, normally I try not to annoy him.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Hey, big guy bites.
Okay, you're up, Brian.
Okay. First of all, here I got a few little things, then I'll show you the bigger thing I was going to share with everybody. Let me switch cameras here. Boom. There we go. Some of you have probably seen this series of books.
Yeah, Ken, didn't you do a video on these, or is that a different series I'm thinking of?
Yeah, I did. I have two of. I think there's 3 books. I have 2 of them.
So, and as you can see here, they've used the
Proper spelling.
The proper spelling of color.
color computer. So there are several in the series. I finally got the last one. I think I need to double check though, but this one here was 62,8000, and this one's like the Fantastic Games here. Then the next one in the series was Space Adventure. The part number is the 8001, and then the one that I just recently got is this one here. This is 8002. What else you can do with your TRS-80?
Now, is that just CoCo, or is that all TRS-80s it's talking about?
I believe it's mostly.
It does say color computer on the top banner, and then it
Yep.
says just TRS-80 on the part of the titles.
Yeah, I have to thumb through it though, but I think it is geared. I think it is primarily geared towards just the color computer. So yeah. And then there's a fourth one here. This one here's the color. It's the Exploring the TRS-80. And then I believe this is the last one in the series. This one's the Programmer's Handbook. And you can see here it's about twice as thick compared to the other ones there. So this one's this one I've had. This one is somebody used it. They had little insert cards. I just kind of left them in there. I didn't really throw them away, but yeah, I think this is all of them. I'd have to go double check to see if there's any more in the series, but I recently got whoops, where'd it go?
Evidently,
this
they
one here.
didn't know what the color computer looked like.
No.
No idea.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share that there. It was a nice little series of books. But
What's the back
yeah,
look like?
just kind of a
The other
continuation
half of the
front cover,
stock footage they put on the front.
I think that last book is just a compilation of all the other books, isn't it?
It may. I haven't got into detail with them yet. I do want to look a little bit deeper, but yeah, that may be the case. But ping me at a later date, Ken. I might be able to help you out with some of your missing ones,
Oh, okay.
or at least let me know which ones you do have. So
I just have the first 2, the Space and Fantastic Games, Space Games and Fantastic Games.
whoops, I got them out of sequence here. Sorry. You got these 2 here then.
The Space Adventures and the Fantastic Games.
Oh, okay. So yep,
And I knew about one of the other 2. I didn't know about the Exploring the TRS-80. I hadn't seen that one before.
okay. Well, we'll see what I have here. I have a couple extra ones. I don't know which ones I have. I know I have a couple extras, but maybe I can help you out.
On the price sticker, it doesn't tell where they were sold from, does it?
No, just says Radio Shack.
I bought mine in a Radio Shack in North Battleford, Saskatchewan.
I think they all do have the price tags on them. This one here doesn't. So anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to kind of share that one there because I think I might have completed the series. I need to look and see, but I believe that is the case. Okay, then the other thing I want to share, why I was wearing the Dragon T-shirt is this might look familiar to some of you.
Yeah, I got one.
I got one.
Well, the reason why it'd be more familiar is if you watched AC 8-Bit's most recent video. This was the star in the show. This is the one that I had sent him. and he did his testing with his CoCo DV, and he sent it back along with. I also sent him my Dragon 32 because he wanted to do some testing with that. But this is the one that this is the one that you see in the video, his most recent video there. I purchased another one of his DVs, and I asked him to go ahead and install it, and that's what he kind of talked about there. But I was going to go ahead and take the cover off here, and when you watch the video, he goes into much more detail. But I'm not sure how well it stands out in here with the green board. But what I got my fingers on right here is his board right here.
Just blends right in.
Yep, it does. And essentially, here, and I might be able to zoom in just a little bit here. There we go. I don't know if that really helped or not, though. But essentially, what you do is you take out the 64 or the 6847, the video chip, and if your system is not socketed, you'll have to socket it. And then you may have to put a couple extra 40-pin sockets on, risers on it, or a couple sockets, whichever is easier for you to elevate it so you can get above this crystal and some of the other stuff that's there. Then you'd put your 6847 into his board, and then you put that on top of it. So it kind of sets up here elevated above everything else there. And then he does sell this. You're not seeing it. Let me back out again here. Sorry. There we go. He does sell this board here that you can buy, and I went ahead and had him go ahead and mount it, only because, and he shows this in the video, when I received this one, there was somebody had already done like a composite mod with it or something, and so there was already holes in the case. So if there's already holes, what's a couple more holes? So I had him go ahead and mount it in there, and then he has this the ribbon cable. This I think this might be a power. I'm not sure exactly what this one here is. This video is used for to come over here, and then he does tap into the audio here as well, and he feeds that to an audio jack on the back.
The Tano has a composite already. It's on a DIN connector.
You can kind of see it right here.
Yeah.
So and I can't remember what this one. And maybe it was composite. This might have been like an audio jack. They may have tapped into the audio possibly. Actually, this does, because this has audio on it as well. So I'm not sure. I can't remember what this mod was. The wires are all kind of bodged around a little bit, so I kind of I remember taking it out. It wasn't very well installed.
I actually used my handmade adapter for the Commodore 64's audio and video.
Okay.
On the Dragon, I just have to reverse the two RCA jacks. So.
Okay. I can do a simple little demo of the video here real quick. If you guys wanted to see that here, let me, should I get this all hooked up?
Sure.
Let me go ahead and switch. Whoops, not turn off. Sorry. Let's see here. This was kind of the best I could do.
Blue screen of death.
I just have a Dragon cartridge in here. It's Cosmic Invaders. But I just kind of want to show the colors there. You can kind of see the colors though, but you can see the lining and the banding that's in there, and you can see like in the green where it says "Beware of the Cosmic Invaders." You can see how it's just not sharp and crisp there.
Any bit overdriven, it looks like.
So now let's see here. Let me go ahead and do this. It's going to go blank for a second. I just got to move my cable here and plug it in here. There we go. There. And you can see all the colors.
Green.
What's that?
Still green.
It's still green, but you can see the colors are much brighter and everything and stuff like that. I think the output is much clearer. It looks a lot better on my monitor than it does here on my video capture. I'll just say that much. On my screen here that I'm looking at, it's nice and bright and clear. Which you guys might be seeing a little bit of ghosting around some of the characters, but that might just be my video capture. The monitor, it looks much better on the monitor than it does, I think, what you guys see on the screen there. But I just wanted to share that. I was kind of excited to get that back, and I was happy to help him out.
Brian, this hooks up by DVI. Is that? I'm trying to remember how that works.
No, this is it hooks up with an HDMI cable on the back.
Oh, okay. But I think he just has the video signal. He doesn't have the sound because of that licensing thing about HDMI.
Right. He's following the DVI specification, which is the earlier generation of HDMI's protocol. So, which is the great thing.
So this right here is the power adapter. This is that composite video cable for it, and then this is an HDMI cable that's plugged directly into the back here. Now you could take this cable here and you could extend it out or off to the side, and then you can use this card. He might make a box for this. I'm not sure. I can't remember if he does or not. And then you just plug your HDMI cable straight into the back of it here.
The inside of the Dragon there is a grey color. Is that an RF shield paint or a metallic paint or whatever?
I don't know. It's very rough textured. It feels almost like 800 grit sandpaper.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
60 is saying it is shielding paint on the inside of the panels.
Okay.
There we are. Yeah.
So this one's you guys are gonna see this one here in the future. The power board that you see here is going to disappear. I have one of John Whitworth's PSU excuse me, power boards that I'm going to put in here, only because not that this isn't possible, but I don't know if you guys have ever seen the power adapter for a Dragon, but
it's a DB9 connector, isn't it?
It's like a joystick adapter, and you have a really large power block. And let's see here, it's just out of the picture here. You can see it right here. And it's kind of weird because it puts out like 18 volts AC and 12 volts AC, and then that all gets regulated here. People have tried to make different transformers. There's been some people that have done it. But what's nice about John Whitworth's PSU board is it's about a third smaller than this. But it just uses a 24 volt DC power block that you can, buy anywhere. And then it still uses the same connector to come over to the system board.
Yeah, and if it's a third smaller, I'm imagining it'll leave some more free case space to cool it off too, right?
It could, yep. This portion here is missing.
Runs cooler too, I'm sure.
Yep. Oh, much cooler, yeah. Yeah, because there's not a lot of heat here, but it is quite a substantial heat sink that you see there. So yeah, I'm gonna be this one's gonna be my my daily driver as far as Dragons go. So I'm gonna get this one all updated with the latest mods and stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. It's a good product that he has. He has it for the CoCo. What he was explaining to me is that the bus timing on the Dragon is just a bit different than the CoCo, and so he had to adjust his timing with his programming there to get the video. So that's why he wanted to test it with some machines.
Yeah, he thanked you in his video, which we'll be covering in the news too. So
okay, yeah, yep, I watched it this morning. So he does a nice job, does good work. Well, that's all I was gonna show today. I don't have one installed on my Dragon 32. Otherwise, I could bring it. I have it sitting here with me. The one that you see in the video that he used for the testing. It's right. He did go ahead and socket it for me, so I can very easily just drop this in if I wanted to use it. But so anyway, that's all I had to share today, guys. Was those two items there?
That's
okay. Well, thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Very cool as usual.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
If you Mark O. In the chat here, let me drop this. Let me hit enter. I was going to do this. That's if you could post that out there. That's AC's email address there for if you want to order from him. He does have these available in stock.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Did anybody else have any project updates or acquisitions?
If we only have the 3 hours or whatever, I'll skip mine.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely have it on next week. You'll have even more stuff to present then.
No problem. Yeah.
Plus, we're going to lose a lot of the people at being at VCF, so we'll need some filler.
Filler. That's what I am. Fine.
Yeah, that's my entire shtick here is fillers. So
okay. No problem.
Okay.
That's the secret of the show. It's filler. I mean, we just waste, 3 to 5 hours a week.
I didn't mean that in a negative way. My apologies if I came across that way.
Bondo, that's all.
So are we ready for the game on
Rondo
results?
Bondo.
What was that, Mark?
Game on results?
Sure.
Okay. Ken, you awake?
What? Huh? Is the news over?
Not yet. But you're up.
No, I'm back in Canada. Welcome everybody to the CoCo Nation Game On Challenge of the Week results video. This week we played Space Marauder. We had a total of 19 participants. They were Mark B with 800, Mr. Evil Dead 2010, Ed Rhodes 2460, Mr. Dave 6309 2470, TJB Chris 2940, Rich N 3700, Henry 4130, Sabhead 4140, David Craker 4150, Buck Owens 4170, Damon Beals 4230, Canadian Retro Things 4560, Sloopy Malibu 4690, Coconut Bob 5290, Jim Rye 5550, Weisler B 5770, Shenley 8000, L. Curtis Boyle 8570, and this week's number one score belongs to, and I might add the only one to break 10,000, Tasman with 10,650. Thanks everybody that played, and we'll see you again next week.
Hey, Curtis is number 2. It is Curtis is number 2.
I think that's the first time ever I've gotten in the top 5.
Impressive.
Okay, before we jump into that, I have to give an apology to Mr. Evil Dead for last week's scores. I missed his final submission, and rather than third place, he should have been in second place with 15,800 on Hopman. Now, back to Space Marauder. Yeah, I couldn't find any reviews in any of the magazines that I frequent about it. So,
yeah, if you would have found any, they would have been one of the Australian ones.
Yeah, I was thinking this was probably just available in Australia at the time.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And New Zealand, but yeah.
So, unfortunately, Nick never sent me any reviews of this game, so he's dropping the ball.
That's right. Yeah, I failed.
Actually, Nick can review it himself as a fellow Aussie and a friendly competitor of Craig Stewart.
But
yeah.
What did you think of the game, Nick? Just to get an Australian's point of view, since it was actually on sale.
It was very good for back in the day. It was one of the first vertical shoot 'em up on the CoCo 3 that used the CoCo 3's graphics at the time. Very well done. Well drawn, all the graphics, sound effects, local to my town.
Oh, was Craig in your town? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he is.
One of the things to definitely remember about it too is this was a submission to a contest, so it wasn't by a professional game maker.
Yeah, the contest, I can't remember if it was Australian Rainbow or Australian CoCo at that time.
Australian CoCo, yeah.
But the first prize, if I remember correctly, and I looked at this a long time ago and I didn't get time to look for it again here for the show today, but I think it was a $500 first prize, plus you got published through Tandy and got royalties based on that.
It was a competition being held by the magazine in conjunction with Tandy. So Tandy were also sponsoring the competition, and whoever won would get their game included in a Christmas CoCo 3 pack. Like you get a computer. I think we've got there was a video actually of the Tandy ad showing the box
Yeah, where they have
which
everything
was-
in the box that they're pulling out.
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
Yeah,
stuff.
like you have joysticks and a cassette recorder or something like that.
Yeah,
or-
that's right. And there was a Marauder in there as well. That was the deal. You got Tandy got to sell your program.
It was the
and
pack-in game.
There was a couple of pack-in games that or programs that they had in there.
Yeah, some
Marauder
educational
was,
stuff and
some educational stuff. So yeah, that stuff went straight in the bin. And
well, you got free discs out of it or cassettes.
You play Marauder and My Donut Dilemma.
And you didn't
which
enter the
was-
contest because you didn't know it existed at the time.
I didn't, and I won. Well, I was one of the winners. I know. So that was sort of just happened that way. But Marauder was the official winner of that competition.
And that was the second year in a row, I think, Cricket won because he'd run for Pursuit the year before, which is his very first CoCo 3 game.
Yeah.
I much
So,
prefer
I-
Marauder over Pursuit myself.
Yeah, Marauder was a better game. Well, it's more the game I kind of like. But you can see he was getting better over time. You know, he did the Pursuit first. A year later, he was learned more about the CoCo 3, and he gave us Marauder.
And you just liked it because it didn't have a green background, right?
Yeah, I always like it when it's not just.
Yeah, he doesn't even like the white
green.
border, never mind the green one.
Yeah, no, I like no border.
So basically addressing a couple of the things that people were complaining about on this game. I guess some people found it a little bit too repetitive. Considering there's only really two. Yeah, hi Buck. There's only two screens. And I think Buck was the main person that complained about that. And then a few people complained about the hit detection on your power-ups. And Curtis, you had explained in the comments there that
too.
With the like those blue comet things, they have to hit the front
and the
of your
warper.
ship.
Yeah.
They have to hit the front of your ship. If you don't hit it with the front of your ship, then you don't. And
It just passes right on by.
I think that's what a few people were complaining about is they'd come over top of it, but it had already passed the front of their ship. And
yeah.
And the other thing was the kind of randomness of the super shot on version 2, I think.
Yeah, that's a little bit of an odd one too. It would just seem to kick in at times.
What I kind of noticed is that whenever you picked up a power up when you were almost full power, that's when it seemed to kick in.
Oh, okay. That would make some sense then, because otherwise it's just wasted, right? If you're already full. So you get a bit of a bonus of being able to use the triple lasers or sweepable lasers.
So I think kind of the triple lasers took the place of your energy overfilling. That's kind of my
until your power went
understanding.
down to a certain level, or
Yeah. So once it started dropping again, like when the bar started dropping, then your extra shooting just turned off.
okay, that makes
But
sense.
I
I didn't
think-
notice that, but yeah, that's a good point.
I think. I mean,
Sounds good to me.
I didn't test the hypothesis a lot. I just kind of noticed that.
Also, Tasman, like we were all looking at the fact that the score on screen while you're playing is only 4 digits. And we're going, is it going to wrap back to 0? And then Tasman figured out, nope, it actually adds an extra digit.
But all in all, especially for a magazine contest, I think this was a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, once you read the manual and you learn the limitations, like to destroy an asteroid, you have to hit a dead center. It tells you that right up front in the manual. There's a little divot you can see there. I mean, if you just pick up the game and try playing, you're going, why the heck is every shot just ricocheting sparks off and not, doing anything? Well, first of all, go try to shoot an asteroid. It's not that easy. In real life,
you got to get a team of oil drillers up to precisely put a nuclear bomb.
Well, I was talking like even the real one NASA did recently, because that didn't perform as expected either.
I did like the explosions. I thought that was
the
graphically,
explosions
that was
were
nice.
quite.
Yeah, the
good.
particle barrage.
That came off of basically everything.
Yeah. The sound
The only,
effects were good. Sorry,
The
go
only,
ahead.
the only request that I would have is that if there was a way that maybe every so often it would drop a like something like a shield booster or something like that.
Yeah,
where you could
shield
maybe-
regenerator.
something where maybe some scores you could have a longer gameplay if there was a way you could add to your shields, because basically what you see is what you get, and once it's gone, it's gone.
It was designed to eat your quarters.
Yep.
Yes, it was.
No, I quite like the game. I played it a fair bit when I first discovered it, which wasn't too long after Nick got kind of back into things, because I can't remember who found it, but it started floating around again. And I think the first version I had was hard coded for PAL. So if you try to run on NTSC CoCo 3, we just start moving the screen up, and you could either vertical hold it, or I just went and patched it for how it set up the gimme. But then there ended up being 3 versions floating around. I'm not sure what the differences are between all of them. But yeah, the monotony of it, I mean, it's a 128K CoCo 3 game. It was, for a contest, so he probably didn't, think of a lot of compression techniques and stuff. And he's got some pretty detailed graphics in there. But it's got the basic two main screens. You got the asteroid belt that you're going through, and then you've got the Marauder itself firing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not a bad game, but definitely it could use one more screen, but
there's no boss aliens or anything, right?
Well, the Marauder is
Well, the
kind
Marauder
of the
is
boss, but
basically the
All
boss,
right, yeah.
or even if
That's
you after you kill the Marauder a couple times, you get an even harder boss or something like that. Something to work forward to.
Or you go play Gunstar.
if you have a 609, hint, hint.
Yeah.
I guess from a tip, when we were talking about this when we were playing it online there, like when you go to get the Marauder to move up on the screen and get underneath it there, it's a little bit easier to, get more shots rather than if you're staying down low.
Yeah, and then kind of move the same direction as the Marauder, so you can actually hit his center point multiple times instead of just hitting him once or twice when you're firing a barrage. Because then you can take care of him within a couple sweeps back and forth, basically. Combined with what Brian said of flying up towards him, so your shot distance is much smaller, so you can fire up more shots. Other than that, I don't really have any tips and tricks except maybe add rapid fire to your joystick.
Don't die. But for one of the very first vertical shoot 'em ups on the CoCo 3, it was pretty good at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely wouldn't have been disappointed if I'd paid money for it.
Agreed.
And let's face it, that's high praise from Nick. That's something that he didn't write.
Yeah.
Well, I've got my copy. I've got a copy of it. As in, not a copy. I've got the real copy with
instruction sheet. So everything. Is it the same as the one in the archive?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got an actual physical copy, a real one from back in the day.
Was it a disc or a cassette?
It was a cassette, I think.
Yeah, because I think that Christmas bundle was cassette based, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think they were all cassettes back in the day. Yeah.
We used to have a Tandy Australia commercial somewhere with the Christmas bundle in it. I don't
That's
know if
right.
we still have it or
That's
not.
right. Earlier. Yeah.
Geez,
Yeah,
Jason,
yeah.
way to catch up on this.
I was napping earlier. I'm sorry.
And my cat's trying to strangle herself on my cords.
Does Mark have all the commercials that we used to have before, or?
Yeah, I do.
He'd be in there. He'd be in one of the pile of ads or whatever that you've got there.
There's like 10 different ad segment things that can be run.
Yeah, it's just a matter of finding which one. But I know
And then you
got
to go through the multiple ones in each one too, because aren't they pre-merged into blocks?
Because
they're
they're
merged into
probably all
blocks.
pre-merged. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got them. I do have them all separate, and I merge them together. Everyone, once in a while, rotate them. Why don't we try this one?
Okay.
See if I can make this work.
Abracadabra.
And why do we not have any sound? Oh, because it's downturn.
Yeah, that might be it actually. There it is.
That is it.
Yep.
That is it. Yeah.
Yeah, they wear paper hats at Australian radio.
That's
Shack.
right. Yeah.
A very special
They're all
price. This family computer.
a bunch of goons. Yep. And pause there. Now. Well, you can see Donut's dilemma. But which one's the Marauder? I don't see it there.
It should have been a full size one if it was there, unless this is a different year. Maybe this is the Pursuit year or something.
Well-
I'm not sure.
Yeah. What are those two cassettes at the top there?
Trying to-
That was the bundle that Donut Dilemma was in, obviously, but it might have been one of the two up the top there.
So now for the next 40 minutes, we're going to go through this video frame by frame, like it's
Figure it
That's
out.
right.
like it's
No, we're not.
Zapruder film.
Zoom in. But the
Now-
thing is, I've got a
enhance.
package because
Enhance.
Enhance, huh?
enhance. Can you enhance?
Darn, don't have an enhance button.
Oh, they even gave
Oh.
you the pen to rewind the cassettes with.
Wow, amazing! I could actually find it in that length of time.
I'm amazed. It's
Yeah.
almost like you prepared. I said almost.
We always plan the shows, don't we?
We plan to have a show. I don't know how well planned they are.
Anyway,
plan
somewhere
to
somewhere in
plan.
that bundle was Space Marauder.
Yeah,
It-
one of
it's
their
probably
Christmas
under the
bundles
one.
anyway. Yeah. Because Nick, you had two bundles, didn't your Space Intruders get in a bundle too?
No,
that
no,
sold
it was only Donut Dilemma. It was
Oh,
sold
okay.
separately.
All right, I thought it was a good game. I mean, yeah, if you're used to more modern stuff or even later CoCo 3 stuff, you get a lot more screens, etc.
Yeah.
More variety. But this is a contest winner. It wasn't some software warehouse with a bazillion staff. So, and graphically, it really did show off the CoCo 3 quite well. I thought, especially with all the particle
Yeah.
explosions. That was a pretty busy
It was,
screen when you
yeah.
get going.
I agree. And the
Well, that
other
wasn't-
game. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, go. No, nothing.
No, I was just gonna jump over to the other game we were playing this week. So if you have anything else to say about Space Marauder, say it now. Anybody? Bueller?
Going.
I did see a noticeable lack of number of players. So I think we're going to have to do something about that.
A noticeable lack of the number of players?
Yes.
I thought we had a really full house this time on the live show, didn't we?
I think we could have done better.
Well, we had 19 participants in this week's one. That's one of the best ones we've had in a while.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's not
Exactly.
bad.
Yeah.
We can do even better.
Well, now that
Yes.
summer holidays is ending for people and people are, not, done buying school supplies for the kids and stuff, maybe it will pick up.
Yeah, now that they don't have to spend money on school supplies, they can spend money on the free games we play on CoCo Nation.
Guaranteed or your money back.
And the other game that we're playing is Cuthbert Goes Walkabout, which is
Originally a Dragon game that got
Dragon
resold by
game?
Tom Mix in North America.
Yep, and it's a clone of
Amadar.
Amadar. I just keep thinking about the ColecoVision version, which is Pepper 2. But yeah, so yeah, you walk around, you have to walk around each square to fill it in. It's a pretty simple game, but
And you can jump. That's one thing that might not be
Yes.
splitting off as
but you can only jump when you're going
horizontally.
Yeah. Which is just weird. And the hit detection is weird because it's two-dimensional hit detection. So
Yes. That was one thing I noticed that I did not like at all.
Yeah.
They're trying to visually represent 3D, but it's actually implemented as 2D.
I like to think of it as when you're going horizontally, you're walking across a girder, and when you're going vertically, you're climbing up something. So
Yeah, and you can't jump while you're climbing.
yeah, you can't jump up. You can't jump while you're climbing, and
That's kind of how I thought of it too. Yeah.
if something's above you, just above like at head level for you, it still hits you because it's right there.
Yeah, I
So
guess.
there,
that-
Sloopy.
All right, I'll give you that one.
Also, if you complete a couple of screens, it changes the color set too. So there's your
Yeah.
variety. And you get more and more whatever the monsters are called coming at you. And if you die, they have less monsters. It actually drops the difficulty of the game down a bit,
The
so you can
monster
kind of
that-
recover.
You can actually on the first level, if you just die, then all of a sudden there's no creatures on the screen, so you just walk around and
Yeah, until the timer runs out and you start getting creatures again. Yeah.
That's where I got all my points.
Did you beat?
Yeah,
the
that was
first
one of the
level?
ones. It was one of the very few that was released originally on the Dragon that the North American publishers looked at and said, that's good enough. I think we'll start selling it in the States. And Tom Mix got the rights to that, as they did to Nick's original Neutroid 2, though Nick had no idea this was happening because it was not done through him.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, just this morning on Discord, who was it that posted this? Bosco? Somebody named Bosco? Not sure.
Oh,
who that
that's
is.
Steve Bamford, isn't it? The guy who did Flappy Bird, Flagon Bird.
Okay. Anyways, he posted a thing from Europe called the Cuthbert Chronicle. So it's got a interview in it with the author of this game, who unfortunately passed away in 2019. So,
what's the guy's name?
Missed out.
Steve Back.
Yeah, Steve Back.
Back?
Yeah, B-A-K.
I don't know if I have that on my website, so I'm going to write that down so I can update that just in case I don't.
Anyways, it's actually, Curtis, if you haven't read this, it's quite an interesting magazine.
haven't yet.
It's full of lots of stuff about Cuthbert and the different systems that it was available on, and it's even got an ad in here. I'm just trying to find it.
Yeah, if you can share that on the screen, because that's a static picture. It should be easy to share, and
Let
then
me
Mark
just
can zoom it up.
See if I can find the.
Huh? What?
It's all right. Go
think
back
we
to
will.
sleep, Mark.
Cats, please attack Mark and wake him up.
He's just the driver. Let him sleep.
In the chat, there's a question from Tom Eric Gunderson.
Okay.
I would answer, but I can't. Yeah, basically he's asking, was it sold as Cuthbert Goes Walkabout in the US, or did it get another name?
Was Cuthbert Goes Walkabout, I believe. Because I don't think they changed the.
I don't think they did, but honestly, I don't remember.
Here, actually,
I-
there's an.
Well, we did.
Just gonna share something here. Oh, what happened?
Shared the wrong window. It looks like
sharing
Yeah. What the heck? Why didn't it
They
ask
did
me what I
not-
wanted to share?
They did not change the name. I just loaded up the Tom Hicks version. Has the same name.
Discord? I thought you're supposed to protest, not be in Discord.
There. So there's actually here, it's listing some of the games that they
Ah, yeah.
released from the Dragon 32 over to the Tandy the color.
Ooh, video
the
subtitles.
based on this one.
Yeah, I see Cuthbert in space there, but I don't see.
This was just this was probably before they had released
But they did use Cuthbert here, so.
and here's the article talking to Steve Back.
Steve Back, yeah.
Well, on the Thursday show, we did the reading of the instructions, and there was both the micro deal and Tom Mix versions of the instructions, and they were pretty much word for word.
Yeah. But it does actually, this article also gives some hints about playing the game and whatnot. And the fact that he coded this without a compiler.
Yeah, it was done by a few people back in the day because no assemblers were available yet, so they just.
Well, he didn't. I guess he didn't even have a memory map for the Dragon 32 when he programmed it, so he had to guess at everything.
Was the Dragon the first version of that, or did it come out on one of the other
Yeah,
platforms
he
first?
says he programmed it on the Dragon. So it's an interesting read anyway, and lots. So that magazine is available in the Discord
Archive.
channel, the Game on Challenge Discord
rather.
channel.
Yeah, and I think that entire run or a good chunk of the run of that magazine is actually out on the World of Dragon archive if you go under their magazine section.
Well,
I know I've used it to research
why don't we
games.
have it on the CoCo or on the TRS-80 or the Color Computer archive? Jeez. Most of these games are available.
Yeah, people have to remember to do that. I mean, technically, any manuals for a CoCo should be, on the TRS-80 archive and the Color Computer archive, and then Dragon stuff should probably be in the Color Computer archive and the Dragon archive. I don't know if they want to put on the TRS-80 archive, so it just depends on if people are aware of those other sites first of all.
Yeah. Anyway, also an interesting game. It's another fairly repetitive game, but it does reward you, like you said, with the change of the screen colors. And,
yeah. One thing I will say about it that's a bit of a technical achievement, especially for back then, is that it plays background music the entire time you're playing. Like it doesn't just throw in music during transitions and changes between screens or something. It actually has full background music running, which on a CoCo 1-2 game, especially back then, that was pretty rare.
Music that can drive you insane, but music nonetheless.
Yeah, well, that's like Nick. Like Nick always has an option to turn music off in his games because he's not a fan of background music, period. But a lot of people do really like it. So,
all right. Well, anybody have anything to say about that game? Anybody?
Anybody?
Going once?
Anybody?
Going twice?
Bueller.
Sold. Okay, so I guess now, Sloopy, you can talk about the Thursday night game on
He's asleep.
thing.
Yay!
Would you like me
to
live? Would you like me to show some footage from it?
Yeah, because I don't think people want to see me sleep.
Okay.
Nick, I don't know if you've noticed, but in the chat, you have a new fan. So
I have.
Yeah, you now have two fans.
Okay. Who's the other one?
My stepson, Geek with Social Skills.
Oh, yeah, a fan of what, Neutroid, you mean?
No, just a fan of yours in general.
Oh no, a lot of us are fans of Nick. He just occasionally makes mistakes like Neutroid. That's all.
Well, he hasn't played Neutroid yet, so he doesn't. He doesn't
he's missing.
Make kind of comments about it like you do, Curtis. But
actually, you guys will see when I show in the news here the website update I did for the new Neutroid. It's a vast improvement. I can't knock the new version.
Oh, good. Because I mean, I don't want to pull out your soldering skills.
Anyway, back to the Game On Challenge. As you can see on the screen here, there's a lot of people. We actually had pretty good turnout.
But I like my derailed train of thought. All right, yeah, we had up to what was it? 8, 9. We had 9 people playing at one time, with almost half Canadian content. Half Canadian content.
Woohoo!
For part of the show. So I want to thank you to all our Canadian players and viewers. Now we need to improve our UK and Eastern European content and our Australian content.
And
that's going to be a bit more difficult because isn't it like 2 or 3 in the morning in the UK and Europe when this is on?
No, it's let's see here. It's
3 o'clock in the morning in France when
yeah, it is
in the
morning
UK.
in the UK.
Well, basically Europe, it'll be like wee hours of the morning.
Yeah.
So people just have to learn to be more dedicated. And I'd also like to point out that at one point the Canadian content on the show was 2/3 Sloopy.
Ah, yes, it was 2/3 for a short while. So we got our Canadian broadcast permit back. We're allowed to broadcast in Canada again. But yeah, it was great to have people. And again, we had Annie again. Unfortunately, we didn't have Low Level this week, but we had our usual guest, and we're hoping to get more of you people joining us. Geek with Social Skills, I expect to see you there starting next week. Frodo,
you see that Geek Social Skills mentioned in the chat. It says, no, Sloopy is not my dad or stepdad. He just plays it on the CoCo Nation. So he's kind of disavowing himself.
Well, also in other places too, but still, that's his own fault. But yeah, I expect to see both you and Frodo Jedi starting to play the games every week.
I think it will pick up. I think part of the reason is that people take vacations at different times during summer holidays. We've never had a full contingent even available because some people take 3 weeks with their family, the first 3 weeks of summer, and then others take in the middle, others take it near the end. And now that the kids will be going back to school and stuff here, I think that hopefully there'll be some more people sticking around.
Hey, some of us take like 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah, not all of us have that kind of luxury.
I'm going to call Ken the CoCo Nomad from now on.
But yeah, I mean, I think everyone had fun because the games were not chosen by a random person whose name shall not be mentioned, but his initials are Sloopy X Malibu.
Except that you chose Space Marauder, which had one of our best turnouts in a very long time.
I did.
Oh, maybe that was Jim that chose Space Marauder.
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right. Way to go, Jim.
Your perfect record is still intact, Sloopy.
Well, I've got the week after next. I think I have another game to find. So I'm sure I'll pick a real winner. No?
I'll be on the show.
Then 2
We
weeks.
should mention, though, because all of the hosts of this Game On Live Challenge are going to be at VCF next week. Aren't you guys doing things a little bit different? They're extending games or?
No.
Well, no, our intern is taking over.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So there's still a new game. And
So, yeah. So if anybody wants to show up on Thursday night and pull pranks or anything like that, it is greatly encouraged.
And who is your replacements?
Our intern?
The intern.
Yeah, he's been our intern for over a year now.
Who is?
Intern Rye.
Jim Rye.
Jim Rye.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, feel free to pull as many pranks on him as you want.
Yes. Yeah, because I would recommend playing like one of the Inufuto games where it's like multiple systems and have everyone come in playing a non-Tandy version of the game. I think that would be hilarious.
Unfortunately, I already chose the game for next week. So, although we better be good because Jim might choose something really horrible for us to have to deal with when we get back.
Predator.
Hey, I'm the oh my God, I am beside myself. I thank you, Nick. I thank you very much. I'm speechless because of it. I completely forgot what I was going to say.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, my mind went completely blank.
Okay. Well, when can people join the live Game On Challenge, Sloopy?
As soon as you announce the new game.
What time can they go to Discord and join the channel to play the game live on the air?
Oh, sorry, I'm all flustered. Yes, Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time, depends on what your clock says.
And what Discord is this?
The CoCo Discord, which you can find a link or an invite on the CoCo Nation website if you are not already a member, but I don't know why you wouldn't be a member. It's the best Discord there is.
It's the place where all the cool people hang out.
Yes, and some of the non-cool people like us.
Unfortunately, we hang out there too.
Don't tell them that.
Yeah, scare them off.
Transparency, dudes.
So who picked the game for this next week then? It's
I
not
did.
Jim. You did?
Yep.
Okay.
The one I'm about to announce?
Yeah, no, I'm just checking in there. I just want to see if Sloopy picked another one, I might skip coming on next week. No, I'm just kidding.
No, Jim will be choosing the game next Saturday. So, okay. Well, I guess I can announce what game we will be playing. Just give me a second here. Of course, we will be playing Cuthbert Goes Walkabout for one more week. And come on, there. The new game that we will be playing, where is it there? For the next 2 weeks. I chose this one because it has a color scheme I know Nick will love.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Does anybody recognize this game?
Yes, I do.
Some
Other than
It's by
scramblers, I
Mark
think.
Griffiths, I believe. Is that the guy's name?
I
And it was a magazine game, if I remember too. It was like T&D or something.
Yeah, T&D software. It was a magazine. It was on the free tape that you got with the magazine.
Yeah, it's
My
a scramble
eyeballs.
clone, in case you can't tell by looking at it.
I can't tell because my eyeballs are burned out.
And they will be definitely burned out after playing this for a while. Because I don't think you can change the color set on it.
Where's Mr. Dave when you need him?
Well, you can if you have a CoCo 3, you can set the palettes to whatever the heck you want.
Air Attack by Paul Griffiths.
Oh, Paul Griffiths. Sorry, I was thinking Mike Griffiths.
Yeah.
He's another CoCo programmer from back in the day.
So it was
green.
in,
I can deal with green.
it was in the T&D subscription software. So, and it is a scramble clone, and we'll play on level 1, or you can make it harder if you feel like it, but it's actually a fairly hard game. So
Double speed poke.
then it would be an extremely hard game. That's the big difference between all the levels is it just speeds up. So the screens are the same.
So if you're into S&M, go ahead and do the double speed poke. I think is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, and set it to level 8 and do the double speed poke and have fun.
By the way, Geek with Social Skills was hoping you were going to play Hello Kitty Island Adventure for the CoCo 3. Has it been written yet?
I'm not volunteering.
Anyway, so that's all I have to say about Game On stuff. So,
Yep. I will mention
Over
that
to-
game in particular. The Air Attack actually runs on a CoCo 1 or 2. I think it only needs 16K if I remember correctly.
Ooh.
And
Might
joysticks.
work on a dragon. Is it joystick or keyboard
If it's
control?
joystick, it might work on the Dragon. You wouldn't be able to select your level unless you figure out what the key remaps to. But
Yeah, they'll be there, but it won't be the usual keys.
it is runs on a 1, 2, or 3 with 16K RAM, cassette or disc, and a joystick.
yep, should be able to play on the
Yeah.
Dragon then too.
So that's that for the Game On Challenge this week. So
Cool.
be there on Thursday night, everybody except for me and Sloopy and
Jason.
everybody else that's going to VCF.
Actually, quickly on the panel, who is going to VCF? Like, who should we expect to see over there that's on the panel right now?
I'm going. He's going. He's going. He's going. He's going.
My hands
I'll
up.
be there.
Somebody's gonna
Okay,
find
so
us.
Jason's going, Sloopy's going, Ken's going, David's going. Is
Rick?
Kevin going or?
No, I'm actually not going directly. I just got to get stuff to you somehow.
Okay.
No, one of these years I might talk Kevin into going to CoCo Fest or VCF Midwest.
Handcuffs are a good motivator. Oh,
night,
That's
everybody.
what she said there.
That's not normally a Mark O style joke. That was kind of shocking.
Mark, do you want it
Marco.
with the fluffy stuff on the handcuffs or without?
personal preference. Personal
I
preference.
didn't know Marco worked so blue.
I have a huge trunk in my car.
Huge trunk. That's important too, especially if they're resistive. So, yeah.
Now, before we go to a commercial break and then on to the Game On news and the regular news, I did want to mention there's a few other conventions coming up here shortly too. So we got VCF next week in the Chicago area. Probably already too late to get hotels and stuff. I'm guessing because I know last year they were overflowed into multiple hotels. I think they already did that a few weeks ago on this one. And I think, was it you guys mentioning that the wait to get in, like to park, was like you had to park like a mile away or
Yeah,
something?
you had to
even
park
get in?
about a mile away last year too.
And my hearing from watching an interview with what's his name from the VCF group, Jason, is that it's actually more full. They had to turn away vendors this year. They didn't have room enough for all the vendors that applied, which is a first. So it's going to be more busy this year than last year, but it sounds good. In fact, they're already looking at getting another bigger venue for next year.
Well, thankfully, Nitrous 9 will have a table.
Woohoo.
Yeah, I'm hoping to try to get there as early in the afternoon as I can, so that way I've got a parking spot at the hotel.
Are you staying at the hotel there, David, or somewhere else?
I'm staying with Grant, whichever hotel he's got, which I'm hoping is the
So in
main
the
one.
ditch ducking a tornado is what you're saying.
I do believe Grant is at the main hotel as well as I am. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but Buck Owens is saying stay in Lombard and Uber over.
Yeah. I'll be at whatever hotel Ken's at.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is that one that charges by the hour, Ken?
With the vibrating bed
and the coin operated television?
This is definitely went into After Dark.
Yeah. And then there's some other conventions coming up we should probably remind people about too. There's, if you're in the UK, the Dragon Meetup, the 6th annual one, is on October 7th and 8th at the Center of Computing History in Cambridge. And hope to see a lot of the Dragon people. Need some CoCo people out there if you can. And then Tandy Assembly, unfortunately, I forgot to copy the date in here. I thought I did. Does anybody have those offhand? That's coming up fairly rapidly as well, which
And
has...
I don't know, Curtis, do you have it down? There's one in Toronto the weekend after VCF.
Yeah, the World of Retro Computing.
Yeah, the World of Retro.
Well, that's one that Frank sponsors amongst others, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that one. So if you're in the, is that in the Toronto area?
Toronto,
Or Niagara Falls area? or-
Kitchener, I believe it's in.
Yeah, Kitchener, Canada.
It was in a barn last year, wasn't it?
No idea.
8 Queen Street North, Kitchener, Ontario.
Okay, because I think Neil Blanchard was at it last year.
Oh, yeah, that was in the very attractive barn.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of that. So that's going on the weekend, not this next weekend, but the weekend after that. So, and then the one in early October for the Dragon one, and then Tandy Assembly. I better look that up because I can't.
I have
September
that down.
29 through
Through the first.
And in Springfield?
Yes, Ohio.
Ohio. And there's
Kinda
probably
near-
some other
kinda
VCFs
be-
coming up.
Kind of by Dayton, kind of between Columbus and
Curtis.
Dayton, I guess.
Yes, Mark.
There's one at the end of this month, the beginning of next month in Seattle for any computer to want to show up. I'm planning on being there also.
Is that one of the gaming related ones?
No, not at all.
It's a general computer one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a general computer one. I got a hold of the guy. There's a mailing list now. Basically, they're trying to replace VCF Pacific Northwest. It hasn't happened for the last couple of years. So that's their goal, is just general will show up. They said they had a Commodore one a couple of months ago. They had about 30 people show up, or 30, people doing displays and stuff. So,
Oh, Mark,
got
you
it.
should send me the information on that. I'll be back in Vancouver then. I might
Okay.
see if I can pop down at least
Excellent.
for maybe one of the days.
sure. Okay, I'll do that.
Cool. Am I missing any other ones that are coming up in the next couple months?
Portland Retro Gaming, October 13 through 15.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's the gaming one.
And that one you're going to, Tim? Both you and AJ, or
Yeah, AJ and I will both be there.
and are you doing a booth or are you just attending?
We're just attending. We'll be throwing stickers at people.
I'm hoping to show up too. Maybe I'll coordinate with Tim and AJ.
If you want to really be successful, give away some free drink samples of the stuff you guys mix on the drunkology part.
There you go.
The vendors might have an issue with that.
Not if you give them free drinks first.
Right, merge first.
Butter them up.
Put the really strong stuff in the vendors' drinks.
Right.
So I think the general gist is that that retro is getting more popular because some versions of the show that have been gone for a decade have come back, like the one in Fort Worth or Dallas. I can't remember which part of that it was actually in, but that that one's come back. The fact that the Pacific Northwest one hasn't happened for a while, now they've got a replacement for it. The Gaming Expo that Tim's going to, I think, is a relatively newer show as well. So there's definitely getting to be more and more. I know, like I mentioned before, the VCF Midwest one now has outgrown the new location. They've only been there a few years at this new one, and they've already outgrown that. They don't have enough room for the vendors, never mind people. So retro is definitely becoming big.
Yeah, it seems Frank says that last year it wasn't a barn, and this year it's an old department store.
Is it Eaton's perchance? That's a Canadian reference.
No, I think it was a Canadian Tire.
No, those are still going pretty good, so I don't think it'd be Canadian Tire.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
it was probably in
the
the bad
Target
section of
thing,
town.
was it?
Maybe it's a Zellers.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be. Zellers came back, but it's not quite the same thing anymore.
people.
Mark just posted the link to Tandy Assembly if you guys want to attend that. That's where you get to cover all the Tandy 1000, 2000, 3000, and the old black and white tier cities, the portables, the pocket computers, and the CoCo. So it covers the entire gamut.
So, Curtis, Frank is just reminding you were on a stream yesterday that talked about where the show was.
Yeah, but I only came in very late on it. I missed the entire beginning when they were talking about where it was and stuff. So, and then I had to leave before it ended because some work came in. I was in there about 50. I happened to pop in right when they were showing a CoCo 3 on the screen, though. I don't even know what the context was because they were done talking about it, but I have to go back and rewatch that. Okay, so Mark, if you want to do a commercial break, I'll come back and I'll just hammer through the Game On news and the regular news. And at the start of the Game On news, we're going to have Nick doing a special presentation.
Yeah. I am.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Taylor. We're watching the CoCo Nation Show. Yeah, we are. Woo! You should too.
Hello everyone, it's your good buddy, your good pal Amigo, and joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCo Nation.
I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCo Nation Show would like to thank the following patrons: Alex Gayer, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weasler, Kieran Anscombe, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Glenn Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, John Bodovkarshaller, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Kevin Holloway, Mike Rayburn, Patrick Euland, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Steve Batson, Terry Steege, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., Tony C., and William Athing. Thank you so much, patrons.
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
Ian Lee says, "Hey everyone. Found my way here from the CoCo Show Discord. I'm a Dragon owner from the UK, I write for Retro Gamer magazine and also made a documentary about video games over 20 years ago called Thumb Candy." Moon+1 says, "New guy here. My name is Tom. I've got an, originally, 4K CoCo 1, upgraded to 16K, then 32K, then 64K in the 80s. Now runs with an SDC and a Retro Hackshack RGB to HDMI kit installed. I've been exploring the huge library of games." Darren A says, "Hello. Darren here. You may know me as the creator of the CoCo SDC and the MCX cards for the MC10. The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Alex Gayer, Boysen, Glenside Computer Club, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Tandy Color Computer 3, and the CoCo Nation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC10, and all of their hardware cousins, no matter what it takes, or where news breaks, from around the world to your nation. The CoCo Nation News with L. Curtis Boyle.
Okay, before we get into there, I just wanted to mention Fred Provence on the chat mentioned there's another retro gaming show soon in Utah too. Is anybody aware of that one? I don't have any details on that one. I don't know if it's a cross-platform, if it's console only or computers or what's covered in that one.
Fred, we need more info.
How do you know the name of it? Did he mention it?
No, I don't think so.
Unless it is Retro Games Expo in Utah.
Okay. Anyway, we'll wait for that to catch up in the chat. I'll kind of insert it after Nick does his presentation. So Nick has got a game release to announce today. Well, he kind of announced it on Facebook late last night too, and there's a webpage entry on my webpage ready for it as well with a direct link to his page if you want to order it. And well, take it away, Nick.
Well, have you got the website? You can pop up the website and we can enlarge that, or do I do that?
Oh, I thought you were doing it, but I mean, I can if you want.
Well, I'm just wondering if I can. Anyway, I've finally finished Curtis's favorite game that he's been waiting for months for.
40 years later, he finally has it finished. Yeah. He's even slower than me.
So it's my Neutroid, my rehash of a rehash of a rehash of a rehash. Which
so
is
it's Neutroid 2020.
It's something like that. Neutroid Reloaded. So this is a game that I developed way back in on my very first computer, the TRS-80 Model 1. My very well, actually, the second machine language game I did on that was Neutroid, and I've always had a fondness for that game because, well, it's a game idea I had when I was a kid, still in high school. And I created it back then. It was a reasonable game on the Model 1, but, you know, I was only in high school, so it wasn't really big sales. It was just a kid having fun. I then later, when I got a color computer, I thought, well, what do I write on the color computer? A whole new machine, color graphics, a new CPU.
Better sound.
I thought, better sound. I thought, well, why not just do Neutroid again?
That's when the real money rolled in.
Well,
not at all.
Well, not at all, actually. I remember I thought, well, now I'm going to a color computer, and I think by that time I might have just finished high school. So now I was getting ready to enter the big league. So I thought with Neutroid, I was going to put an ad in the local CoCo magazine. And so it was a half-page ad. Actually, I should try and bring up the website, see if I can. Anyway.
If you can't, let me know. I can bring it up too.
Yeah, if you can. I haven't got mine set up correctly. So if you've got it there.
I don't at the moment, but I'll get there shortly. Just keep
blabbing
on. Is that the technical term?
It's something like that. Hang on, I've lost my Zoom. Anyway, you can still see me, so I'll just keep blabbering. So I did it for the color computer 2 as my first game using semi-graphics, and I thought, you know, this will be the most colorful game and make really great sound effects. This will be a big seller. Unfortunately, even with an ad in the local paper, nothing. I didn't sell not one copy. And if you scroll down, you can see the there. So there's the TRS-80 Model 1 version, and then I did the color computer version. That's the half-page ad I did on in the local computer magazine. No bites, and I was pretty disappointed because I mean I had high hopes for Neutroid at the time. Going over to the color computer, my new computer, and it just didn't go. And really, it's the game. I put it down to the fact it was a little bit abstract, I guess. Most people by that time were expecting, you know, Mario and, you know, those sort of games. And
well, I think one of the main reasons that this happened too, and we've talked about this extensively privately between us and even publicly for that matter, is that you took some elements of the game out of the TRS-80 Model 1 and 3 version that made it more obvious.
Copy. Yeah, well, the thing is, I was on a new computer, of course, color graphics, different resolutions, different CPUs, so I didn't want to do anything too adventurous, and I thought Neutroid would be a good one. But even then, I still had to. I decided I'd change a few things because I, at the time, didn't really know how to code the CoCo really well. It was my first machine code game. So I changed it a bit to make it more within my scope. And
yeah, most of the changes were okay. The only one that I think really detracted and made it, as you pointed out in your description here on your page, is that it's too abstract, because the steering of the Neutroid is obvious on the Model 1 and 3 because you changed the grid to show what you're deflecting. You took that out on the CoCo version, and that really confused a lot of us, including me.
That's right. Well, maybe for anyone who doesn't understand and hasn't heard about Neutroid, what it is yet. Neutroid, basically, it's an atomic particle. And you are a scientist, and you have to control this particle, the Neutroid, which moves of its own accord. It always travels forward inside this reactor grid. And you control it by controlling the grid, whether it's magnetic or whatever. And that way you navigate it. And the purpose is, if you scroll back to the Model 1 version, the original one, Curtis, there, just go up a page. Yeah, the original one there has the grid, and around the outside of the grid are other particles I call the protroids. So you just have to make your Neutroid fly off the grid and into a protroid, and you have to destroy the protroids. And if you destroy, or the word isn't destroy, it's more to grab their energy. You diffuse them. That's a better word. But if you miss the protroids, you hit the reactor walls and you lose energy. If you lose too much energy, it's game over. That was the original idea of Neutroid. So when I did the color computer version, I changed it a bit. I don't have the protroids circling the grid. They just travel along the top and bottom regions. So it's still the same basic concept. You have to navigate your Neutroid to go off the grid into a protroid, whereby it then just bounces back into the grid. If you miss the protroid, you hit the reactor wall behind you. So back in the day, the CoCo was a new thing for me. So I wasn't quite so, I didn't quite fully understand how to work within the limitations of the semi-graphics modes, because it's a good mode in that it gives you all 8 colors, which was one of the things I particularly wanted to do. But it's got a few oddities. You have to be careful how you use it, because it doesn't allow multiple colors. Well, one color plus black per byte. The resolution horizontally is quite low, 64 pixels. So there's a few limitations. And by redesigning Neutroid to Neutroid 2, I was able to, I called it Neutroid 2 because it was a bit different to the original idea. But anyway, it failed. It didn't sell anything. So
yeah. And even for the people that did like it, it did not work on a CoCo 3 because you couldn't see your score.
Well, later on, when the CoCo 3 came out, it didn't work because semi-graphics works differently on a CoCo 3. It doesn't display the text part of the graphics either. So back in 2015, I decided I'd redo it because I still had this spark that it always bugged me that Neutroid failed. And it was an idea I had when I was a kid at high school. I thought, geez, it would be good to fix the game up and just give it some, promote it a bit better. So I thought I'll just take Neutroid 2 and just fix it up so it fully uses semi-graphics. I did away with all the text part, which didn't work on the CoCo 3. So I redrew all the scores and stuff in semi-graphics as well, as you can see there on the left-hand picture. It changed, did a few other graphic changes.
The other main change, I think, is that you made it a joystick versus keyboard controlled, which I think did help.
Back in the day, I didn't know how to read the joystick, so it was only keyboard. And back in the day, I could actually use keyboard control myself. Whereas nowadays, I just twist my fingers up because they're not quite as dexterous as what they used to be. So I thought some people are probably didn't like the game because of that as well. So I made it joystick. I simplified it because it was a bit hard in areas, and I called it Neutroid 2.015. Neutroid, well, the 2 is because it still is really Neutroid 2, and 2015 is because that was the year I did this update. So it just worked out, Neutroid 2015.
And that was a free update too, because it was basically this same game with fixed for the
that
Cobra
was
3.
just compensating for the failure of the original Neutroid 2, or trying to anyway. Anyways, it was still not very popular. So this year I thought, and I had the itch again, I will redo it.
You really should get a salve for
again.
that or something, I think. But anyway.
I will finally mend it. I will right the wrongs. So I thought I'd redo it from scratch. And this time it will be modeled more on the original idea that I had on the model, on the TRS-80 Model 1. So I get, like the Model 1, you have the grid and you have the Protroids that circle the grid. It plays more like the Model 1 version.
Especially the visual cue of steering the grid. That was the main thing. When you added that, it makes it so much easier to connect.
Yeah. In Neutroid 2, you didn't quite get that cue. And a lot of people got it confused. They thought, how do I control this Neutroid? It's not going where I want it to. Well, that's because you don't control it.
But it's not visually represented well to let you know that. The new version, it totally fixes that.
The new version, it sort of does. In essence, I've sort of put the whole control grid thing more in the background. You don't even think about the grid now. You just think about the Neutroid moving about in the direction you want. So it's more intuitive now. So it's similar to the Model 1 version, but I've improved it even more so that I make it really easy to control. And that's what the Neutroid Reloaded, that's one of the main extras that Neutroid Reloaded had, in that it goes back to its roots, as well as adding a few other little a bit of candy. What do you call it? The graphic candy with the sparks.
The lightning bolts.
Neutroids do a lightning bolt and whatever they call them, and just it's just
and digitized sound sample. That's another big thing. Like the sound is much better.
That's the other big thing. The sound on Neutroid Reloaded uses actual samples now, and that's using that technique whereby you can use the horizontal interrupt on the CoCo 2 divided by 2. There's a way to make it take the 14 kilohertz interrupt and use half of it, because 14 kilohertz was too high. So I dropped it to
15.75 kilohertz, but
to
anyway.
7. Yeah, well, I'm rounding off. you're the mathematician.
No, I'm not.
And so it's got good digital sound. The sounds are really well, we can play the promo video, which is just up a bit, so people can see just what the gameplay is. If you want to roll up there and just start the promo video, these are on the website. So click.
Let me know, guys, if you hear the sound. That'll be critical for this demo.
Yeah, turn on the sound, and you'll see the game start up. Sponsored by Einstein himself. So again, like the original Neutroid on the Model 1, the emphasis was on trying to do something with lots of graphics and lots of sound. Okay.
You guys can hear the sound effects okay?
Yep, I can hear it.
Okay.
So the big white dot is the Neutroid. It's always moving forward. And if you look carefully, the blue grid in the background just flashes every now and then. And it sort of flashes in a way to indicate which way it's going to deflect.
Steer it.
The Neutroid, to steer it. So that's all you do. You steer it. You don't actually directly control it. Yeah.
Like you can't reverse direction, because you have to do double
You can't reverse.
Deflections.
It always goes forward or a deflection. And you have to navigate it to go and hit the Protroids, as you can see it's doing there. And when you knock them all out, you get another round. It varies by how fast the Protroids move around the grid. Also, every now and then you'll see a big, like a lightning bolt that comes from the corners of the reactor, and it unleashes those red antitroids, and they are sort of magnetically attracted to you, which if you hit them, they take some of your energy away. But if you go into this super neutroid mode, which is gained by picking up that yellow flashing on the border, if you look carefully, another one will appear here. You get what I call an antimatter fissure. There it is. So you get that yellow fissure, and for a short time you have the ability to knock out antitroids.
And you run double speed.
And you run at a higher speed. So, and you get multiple new antitroids appear. So you can have up to 5 appearing on the screen. So you've got to avoid them because they take your energy away. When your energy is completely expired, it's game over. But every time you do capture a Protroid, you gain energy. So you're sort of always managing the energy level. It's just a matter of trying to go through the entire... I've got 16 levels. I was going to make it keep going, but I thought, well, it's just going to be repetitive after that. You know, I mean, how much more can I add to the game without recoding more into it? So I thought, look, I'll tap it off at 16 levels and try to adjust the difficulty level so that it will increase linearly. So if you can get to level 16, it will reward you.
Your name is Buck or Taz, basically.
Well, it doesn't actually say that, but you are at Buzz and Taz level because they have made it up to level 16. Of course, they set the difficulty level of the game. If I could make it so that it's a challenging game for them to get to level 16, then that should be good for anyone. But of course, they can make it to 16. After a bit of effort now, I've sort of slowly made it a bit harder as they were the game testers. I used Buck Owens and Tasman as my main game testers. I also did use Kieran as well. Kieran in the UK is also one of the game testers, and Curtis as well. So basically, that was all the feedback I was getting from them, either playing the game or in the case of Kieran, he did a lot of work for making sure it works on the Dragon, and also created a lot of the disk images for it, because when he makes up disks which are compatible both on Dragon and CoCo, because they do have 2 different disk formats.
Yeah, it's a schizoid disk.
Yeah. So he makes up hybrid disks, and he made those up for me. So he's helped out. But Tasman and Buck Owens, I thank them a lot for a lot of. They spent a lot of time playing the game, and without their feedback, it's very hard for me to adjust the game to be at the correct difficulty level. So basically, Neutroid Reloaded now is, I think, a more playable game than what even the original Neutroid was.
Yes, it's less abstract for sure. It's also very enhanced on the graphic stuff and the sound.
A bit less abstract. It's a bit more intuitive to play. In essence, really, if I take out all the talk about atomic particles and trying to make it sound scientific, because that's sort of what the background story of the game is. You know, you're meant to be a professor playing in this nuclear reactor. But when you scrub all that, really what it is, it's Pac-Man. It's Pac-Man just twisted around. You have, instead of the yellow munching mouse, you have that white thing. You navigate around the grid that you have to go around and collect the dots or the protroids, avoiding the red antitroids, the ghosts. But if you eat the big dot, in this case the antitroid fission that appears on the grid walls, you can for a short time chase the antitroids and eat them. So in essence, you can really say it's Pac-Man with a twist. If you take out all the nuclear guff.
Now, one thing I wanted to mention too is that you've got two different options for ordering. You get the digital download, $7 US, or the collector's $15, and there's some bonus stuff on that. So I thought you may want to tell people, especially the audio listeners who won't be able to see the screen I'm showing.
Well, I always try to cater for the two types of markets. One is the guy who just wants the game and doesn't care about media and all that. They just want the game at a low price, at a fair price. So you can buy $7, gets you the game and the manual, and it's not a big manual. This again, I've tried to keep everything simple, and I email that to you. So when you buy that, it goes through PayPal. I get an email, and then because I do everything the old way, I process it manually, and then I'll email you out a zip file with the game file and the manual, and that's $7 US. So that's probably the one that I think most people would go for. You just get the game. You can put it on your CoCo SDC, or even copy it to a floppy disk, whatever, and away you go. You've got Neutroid. Or if you're a bit of a collector who wants the artwork, I wonder if I have the artwork here somewhere. I have somewhere. I'm not prepared. Actually, or am I? Let me just quickly look and see if I have got it. No, I don't. Okay. The software comes on a CD. When you buy the CD, you not only get the CD, which gets manufactured by a company called Kunaki. Oh, you found it, Kunaki, and they handle the CD manufacturing, and you can order all my other programs as well, as Curtis is showing there. But you would order the CD package. It comes in a DVD style case. Click on more info there, Curtis, because it brings up that, and click on the rotate case at the top left. So the back of the case is that. So you get a proper, it's all color printed on the DVD case. Click on it again, on the spine, and again. Inside you get a CD that's color printed as well, that has the same files that are on the digital download, as well as the instructions printed on a color card there on the side there, showing you where everything is. But as well, on the CD, when you buy the CD, you also get all copies of my other versions of Neutroid. You do get the TRS-80 Model 1 version, as well as the Neutroid 2, which is now free off the archive anyway. Neutroid 2015, as well as the new one. And they can all be run in emulators or on a CoCo SDC. The TRS-80 Model 1 version obviously needs a Model 1 TRS-80 emulator, but you can
and you also have the cassette WAV files here, so if you want to play it off tape for Dragon or CoCo.
For the Neutroid Reloaded, I do include the WAV and a CAS files, thanks to Kieran, who, you can. It's possible. I haven't been able to do this myself because I don't have a cassette player, but you can take the WAV and record it on a cassette and make up an actual cassette. Now, I should mention that I don't know if I mentioned before that Neutroid Reloaded does require a 64K CoCo. And now that means that is a CoCo 1, a CoCo 1 or CoCo 2, but it must have 64K, or a Dragon. Now it'll work on a Dragon 32 that's been upgraded to 64K. It'll work on a Dragon 64. On a Dragon 64, there's a bit of a problem because there's a bug in the Dragon 64 with the digital sound effects, the way they handle the interrupts. But with Kieran, we tried it. It makes the sample sounds a bit choppy, but because the sound effects are mainly sparks and explosions and all that, it doesn't make much difference anyway. But if you have a Tano Dragon 64, it works fine. It's only when you have a British or European rather PAL Dragon 64 that you might get a bit of a sound deterioration. That's a big word.
That works on any CoCo 3, right?
But it works on any CoCo 3. That's right. So I actually developed it on a CoCo 3, so it works on a CoCo 3.
Do you do anything with the 609 in it? Like I know some of the other games auto detected just to smooth things out a bit.
It does detect. It looks to see if you have one, and it will get a slight speed increase if you have a 6309. Otherwise, it doesn't need it. Now, I think you manually turn on. I think I had it so originally it was automatic, but I decided to make it so that you manually choose 6309 now. So when you pause the game, if you press break during a game, the game will pause. But if you then hit, I think it's Z, I've got it, it's in the instructions, it will activate 6309 mode. So you get about a 10% speed increase if you have a 6309 on any of those machines. Yeah, it's somewhere in there. I think I do mention it. Yeah, break, hold for 1 second. Z.
And then it looks like ZZ, is that?
Z, yeah.
During
or
a pause,
ZZ.
game 609 native mode if available.
Yeah, it turns that on. But you don't need to do that. I figured if it ever comes up on the Game 9 challenge, you want everyone to be running the similar, the default setting of 6809. But it's up to the user. They can turn on 6309 and get a slight improvement there. So, yes, I support it, but it's not really specific for 6309, no.
Yeah, I just imagine it might help smooth the sound or something because it would have a little bit more CPU time.
It doesn't smooth the sound. It just smooths the graphics a little bit, maybe. The sound is always fixed to the interrupts. So that's still going to be the same. But, and that's Neutroid.
Again.
Technically, Neutroid 4. Rehash number 4. So my next program is Neutroid 5. No. I think that's the end of Neutroid. I think I finally got that itch out of me now. I've righted the wrongs, so now I can move on.
Yeah, all kidding aside, and I've bugged Nick about all the various versions of Neutroid for years, decades, whatever it's been. The fact that the game was too abstract. Once he showed me the Model 1 version and how it visually identifies that you're controlling the grid and not trying to steer the particle, that made a huge difference because then my brain connected with how the game's supposed to work, but there's no visual cue on the original couple of versions on the CoCo to actually do that. That has been addressed in this version, and it seems much more natural now. I don't have to think about it. Because I was always on the original one, I was like, if the Neutroid's moving up, I want to move it down. So I pull the joystick down or hit the down arrow, and nothing happens. Because you can't steer it. You have to deflect it left and then left again, or two rights to turn it around 180 degrees. And then you're in a different column because you've had to move over sideways to get it to spin around. So you have to steer it that way. So that it's much more obvious now when you're playing, and that's a huge thing. And the digital sound effects, the extra visual effects he's added, I think have really improved it. I think this has a lot more glitz and polish on it. And the game, it's a better game, and now it's better than the Model 1 version, honestly.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, the game can be played with keyboard or joystick, and
in a CoCo 3, you allow the alt and control keys to be your up and down arrows too.
Buck Owens and I think Tasman as well, they both use keyboard. So I'm amazed that they could get such good scores. Obviously, they're very good with the keyboard. I can't get anywhere with the keyboard myself, not nowadays. But I use a digital joystick, and that works really well, nice and smooth on a real hardware. A bit more on my PC. It's not so good on a emulator because mine is 10 years old. But on a real CoCo, it's quite smooth, the movement. Yep. And on a CoCo 3, because it's got the arrows in that cluster, I do also support the Alt and Control keys. So you can use it as if it was a CoCo 2, if you like, that layout for the arrow keys, where you've got the up and down on the left of the keyboard and the left and right on the right hand, where you can, it's a more comfortable position to control it.
Yeah, and you can use two hands to do it instead of trying to cram it with one.
If you're a fan of the diamond cursor keys and you can use that, you can still use that. The game works on a dragon because it's reading the dragon keys as well at the same time. So it works on a dragon and a CoCo 1 and 2 and 3, as long as you have 64K.
Yep.
And that's about as much as I can rattle on about it, I think. The game's available now. Go to my website, and if you're just sick of me talking and you want me to shut up, just buy a copy.
Yeah,
play the dang game.
and if you like Nick talking about it ad nauseum, you can join the Amigos at in about an hour, just over an hour from now, the National Computer Club meeting, which they have every few months or 6 months or 3 months, whatever it is, which covers a lot of retro systems. And Nick will be a guest on there to talk about it again. So if you can't get enough Nick and you can't get enough Neutroid, join us there.
That's right. So this is where we get to see who the real sick people are. So whoever shows up. Anyway, and that's about it. I think I've bagged on about the game enough. So
I bought a copy, but you kept talking. But anyway, so
I sent you your copy actually.
yes, you did.
You bought it so I can.
He's all about the money. He'll ignore us before if people are paying him for this.
Okay, I'll shut up now. Just for Brian.
It's already outsold Detroit 2.
Yep.
It has
literally.
Actually. By a long shot.
Neutroid 2, the worst-selling game of 1984.
That's right.
Yeah, that is a bit strange to me that you didn't sell a single one. You sold, I think you said 10 of the Model 1 and 3, and that was just in a local tobacconist shop, right?
Yeah, well, I was still in high school. I would drop by into this tobacconist that I discovered one day, walking past it on my way to school, and I thought, hey, this is in his window. He had all this TRS-80 software. I thought, a tobacconist selling TRS-80 Model 1 software? And that's where I discovered the guy in there was a TRS-80 fanatic. He actually had a TRS-80 Model 4, I think, in the middle of the shop, whereby he'd be playing on his, doing Z80 machine language programming in between customers. So I thought I'll go in here and see if he wants to sell my game. And he said, yeah, okay. So that I added my Neutroid and all my Model 1 stuff that I had at the time in his shop window. So that's where I was making a bit of pocket money on the side. Saves selling newspapers anyway.
So that was a tobacco shop?
Yeah.
A tobacco shop, yeah. Tobacco, he had a men's barber in the back as well. But he was a TRS-80 a fanatic, you know. He was a Z80 machine language programmer too. And he would program, I don't know if I told Curtis this, but he would program Z80 machine code using a disk zapper. He didn't have an assembler. Well, yeah,
like raw
he did have an
opcodes
assembler
right onto a disk raw.
He wrote actual Z80 code directly onto the disk surface, and that's how he coded or patched programs. He could read Z80 code by reading the mnemonics directly. He was brilliant. He's passed away now, but he was selling my games, and that's where I became the big hit. You know.
By the way, we've got a comment from the chat for you, Nick. Jim Rice suggesting you get a purple Ferrari this time.
A purple one. That's right.
In honor of Prince, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, to go with the yellow and the yellow, blue, and red one.
Level 5.
Anyway, so for those of you interested in the game, rush out to nickmarentes.com. You can find the direct link from there. If you have my games website as part of your command history or maybe a bookmark or something there, there's an entry for there, which also has a direct link to Nick's site, so you can get it there as well. And like I said, it's a much improved game. I've been slamming Nick on Neutroid for years, but I can't do that on this now. It's actually is a proper game now.
And on that note, I think we should shut up because Brian has paid for his copy, and I've got to.
I see he's already got the scissors out to slash his wrists, so I don't know if it's going that well.
I've got to give him what he paid for. He paid for me to shut up, so that's the end of Neutroid for today.
Oh, but I was going to say I got the level 5 on my first game.
There you go.
Keyboard or joystick?
Technically keyboard.
Yeah, you'd be probably used to it by now.
Yeah, because if anybody else is going to make it and actually complete the game, because that's one thing you did change, as you mentioned it. The game does now have an end. If you complete level 16,
it does
you
end.
win.
You got to get to 16, yeah.
Anyway, Sloopy might be the other one with enough patience.
No more Neutroid. Finished.
Yeah. Now
Nick,
get to work on that game Ken and I are waiting for.
Nick, if I wanted to download more than one game, can you do that by clicking on which ones you want?
Yes.
Or do you have to buy them
on the Kaneki page? You can just put little click check marks. Which ones you want.
That's if he wants the CD, but you probably just want the digital download, don't you?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you can buy each one individually, and then when they appear, I'll email them out to you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on my website, and we're still talking about my stuff again, but
well, just head the question.
Yeah, that's all right. If you click on the I think on my sales page where I say $7, click here. You just click there, and it goes through PayPal and pay for that. But you're saying about trying to
like if
buy
I wanted
a whole bunch.
Yeah,
you could just go to PayPal manually, and just you can send me in one lump whatever you want. Just tell me in an email, and I'll send it direct. It's just the little thing I've got on my website just to make it easy for people.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can do it individually. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nick, and we'll see you
now I'll
again
shut
on
up.
ICC. Yeah. Now I've got to cram everything in
Then
1 hour.
That's right. So, yep.
And it's SepTandy, so that's going to be a bit of a chore. Okay, so I guess I'll start with the game news related, which of course there are some SepTandy entries for that as well. So let me find the right window. And I think that's it. Hey, you guys should see a little mostly black screen.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is Paul Thayer. He did an update, and he's working on a shoot 'em up too called Shmup You Up, which we've covered a few times here. So this one is showing him creating compiled sprites through utilities like GIMP and the Sprite Compiler app, which I can't remember if that's Paul Fiscarelli's or somebody else's. There's some talk about that in the Discord as well, and we'll cover that a little bit later in the news as well too.
Yeah, I believe it is Sprite Compiler's Paul Fiscarelli's.
Yeah. So basically, he selects these here, and you can see the little animation frames of the sprite going across. And then you just click something, and it generates the machine code, and then you can run and test it to see how it works. Now, for those of you who don't know what compiled sprites are, normally sprites are just data, and you OR and background masks, etc. type thing. But it's a fair bit slower. What a compiled sprite does is it's smart enough to go, if I have a repeating pattern that's going to be used multiple times, I'll just load a data register once and then store it multiple times rather than reloading every byte as you're going. It'll also be smart enough to know that if I'm putting something that's going to completely obliterate the background, that I don't have to do any masking at all. I don't have to or and anything. You can just store it, which is faster. and even allows you to stack blasting if you have wider chunks that are completely filled in, etc. So it's a great tool. It makes your code drawing sprites a lot faster, but it also makes them a fair bit bigger code wise. It's much bigger than a straight data table in most cases. But anyway, he goes through a few of those there. So his game is making some really good progress. I'm really excited. It's a probably by far, I would say, the best quality game I've seen that he's worked on. I'm really looking forward to this one too. It's much better than even Cosmic Ambush. Next up, fellow Aussie Brian Palmer, who's also on our Discord as, what is his handle on there? I remember, whatever it's. He's been doing some typing games from some of the Australian magazines, Australian CoCo, Soft Gold, Australian Rainbow. Now, Australian Rainbow originally republished a lot of stuff from the American Rainbow. They actually had an arrangement between the two, but they also published some of their own stuff. And basically what Brian's been doing is typing some of these in, because a lot of the disc images and stuff from the Australian one, first of all, they never made it up here, so we never saw them. But a lot of them, nobody seems to have the discs anymore. So he's been going through and retyping in games and then trying to make sure he's got them debugged. So one he released this last week here, it was originally programmed by Nick Costarellis. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. In 1983. And it's called Laser Mirror Maze. And he's got some screenshots here on the CoCo Facebook group. It looks like a P Mode 4 game, kind of a puzzly style thing with some rows and columns you got to deal with. Unfortunately, Brian's running such an old version of MAME. When he takes a screenshot, it doubles the width and leaves the height alone, so they look stretched. So the actual game, of course, will not quite look like that. But I'm glad he's doing these, and eventually I'm planning on getting these up on my site too, because it's stuff that a lot of us here in North America have never seen before. Probably not in Europe either. Next up, and this is one that actually I was a bit involved with too. So there's a person named Dino Diego, and he's got 73,500 subscribers, and he's got a channel on YouTube that basically covers dinosaurs, everything about dinosaurs, TV shows, movies, books, advertising, real stuff that's happening. And he's starting to cover video games, and he was trying to figure out what was the first video game, home console or home computer that actually had a dinosaur in it. And he had 3 of the early ones he covers here. And the first one is Dino Wars by Robert Kilgus. Now, I've been in contact with Robert Kilgus because I've been getting some information from him on some of his games to put on my website. In fact, the Dino Wars page has been updated with some of the information going back and forth. And I actually got a bit of a correspondence between the two of them going here. So they got some direct answers on that. So it's a fairly lengthy little bit going through there. I'll just play a little bit of it. Let's fast forward. There's a little bit of history of the video games where he covers the original Pong stuff, BC Quest for Tires, and then Dino Wars itself.
As I was researching for this video, one of the titles that I ran into was 1981's Dino Wars. It's a very simple side-scrolling fighting game. There's not much to it, but that's to be expected since video games at this point in time were still very limited compared to how they are now. Regardless, the game's simplicity would only be a stepping stone in the titles people would eventually come to know and love. Dino Wars is a very early example of a fighting game. The game was specifically made to be a 2-player game, and the objective was simple. You and your opponent fight until one of you runs out of health. The game features 2 Tyrannosaurs, one red and one blue.
Anyway, I won't play the whole thing here, but he goes into a bit of a history and some of the background from Robert himself, like why did he pick dinosaurs and stuff. He was mentioning some of the things too, like you can walk in the distance. Like this is more than just a side, fighting game. You can actually walk further away. You can run into the cactuses on the a terrain type thing. So you have distance involved in here too, and the dinosaurs scale as you go. So actually, for a game written in 1980 and published in early 1981, it's pretty advanced. I mean, Robert did a few of these. His skiing game is, by far the best skiing game I've seen on any micro or home machine of any sort back at that time period too. And that came out before the end of 1980. So anyway, it's good. And he goes through BC Quest for Tires, and there's another one I can't remember off the top of my head. So he goes through 3 games from like 81, 82, 83-ish that had dinosaurs feature them in some way, shape, or form. So if you're into dinosaurs, it's a great page. I know this is a game that is a little bit controversial because there's some developers I know just hate it, and they consider the Dino Wars cartridge as a spare cartridge to put their own stuff in. But I know like young kids really love the game, still do even now, even if they're used to playing it like on Xboxes and PlayStation 4s or whatever. And I never did mind it. I mean, I think the 3D scaling and stuff is quite impressive for the time. So I've always liked a game. It's simple, gameplay wise, but I never had a problem with it. But anyway, it's a pretty cool video with a bit of history, including some history that I don't think's been talked about before. Going with the correspondence between Dino and Robert Kilgus.
And there's a kick-ass banner you can stand in front of.
Yeah. If you want to meet Dino Wars in person, there, Tim Linder always brings the big poster of them. Are you going to bring it again this next year for CoCo Fest, Tim?
Probably not. Probably going to be traveling light this next time.
What happens if there's another wedding party that wants to get their picture taken with the Dino Wars banner, though?
I'll Photoshop them in.
Okay, next up, we've got Warbirds for the MC10 by Jim Gary. Now, he's released this game before, but he's done some changes to it. So he's kind of updated it to make the playability a bit better. So what he has done, actually, I'll start playing it in the back. I'm just going to kill the sound down because it gets a bit loud. So the full name of the game is Romulan Warbirds, as you can see on the screen here. And of course, it's got the arrow keys. Now, the original version used in key, which means you can only register one key at a time. And you also have to keep tapping it. What he's done now is he's used a special routine that allows multiple keys to be pressed at once, I believe by Greg Dion, same guy who did the MC10 basic compiler. So now you can hold down a key and keep moving. And you can also hold down two keys at once and move diagonally. So that's a fairly big improvement to the gameplay on this. And basically you're moving through a star field here, as you can see here. You can move in all 8 directions. The Romulans have a bit of depth to them, so they get smaller as they're further away and bigger as they get closer to you type thing. So it's kind of almost a little bit of a pseudo 3D effect, all done in like Semigraphics 4, so that's pretty impressive. And basically it's like a sort of a mini Star Raiders, I guess, with a lot of the extra stuff gone, but nice little 3D style shooting them up on MC10. Next up, and the author of this video is actually on the call. So Bob, do you want to explain kind of what your video was accomplishing here using last week's Game On Challenge game, Hopman? Assuming he's still here.
I will try, but my
you're breaking up there.
Internet connection is pretty flaky right now.
I think he says he has a bad internet connection.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm catching.
Yeah, you better go for it. My internet's busted.
Yeah, if you kill your video, I think it'll work okay. You just started coming in clear there, and I think you killed your video, so maybe you can.
Today.
Still there, Bob?
Of course, then I won't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, is the sound coming through? I think that is a no.
Yep, no, I heard it. It didn't break up that time. We'll try it for a little bit. If it doesn't work, then I'll try to guess explanation.
Anyway, I was just playing on my CoCo 3 that has the turbo light on it, and I noticed that the game was not playing in high speed, so I just tried typing in the high speed poke to see what it would do. And the timing of the game is pretty much
I know you're breaking up again.
Whatnot, but the sound effects double.
Okay, yeah, Bob, you're breaking up too much. I guess I was hoping maybe killing the video would make it work. But basically what you're seeing here, for those watching the video stream, he's got the regular speed running on the top frame. He's got the double speed poke enabled on the bottom frame. The graphics seem to be somewhat frame locked, so it doesn't really speed it up too much. It might make it a bit smoother, but the sound is definitely raised in pitch. So he kind of goes through, I think, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 levels here, just kind of showing the gameplay. And if you have the sound turned on, of course, you can hear it. It's changing the pitches you're going between the two. But I didn't realize, this was a bit of a shock to me, that the Inafudo guy that does the programming for all these different cross-platform is not using the 2 megahertz mode on the CoCo 3. And I'm wondering now, I never checked on the previous ones, but has he been doing that all along, whereas CoCo 3 games, and a few of them we've commented are a little bit slow because the CoCo 3 screen's 4 times more RAM to move around than a CoCo 1.2 screen. If he's been running them all in single speed this whole time, like somebody should tell him about the double speed poke, because it's definitely officially supported by Radio Shack. because OSINT level 2 kicks it in as soon as you type DOS. So I think he could probably improve the CoCo games quite a bit, knowing he has that option. So I don't know if anybody's ever tried to get in contact with the author, but that might be something to suggest to him. Anyway, thanks, Bob, for doing that. Sorry your internet connection didn't last for you to explain it, probably much better than I did. Next up, Paul is the Best 3 UK, has done a few more Dragon videos this last week. So he did Flipper, which is actually a conversion of a game by Colorsoft, the same guys that sold Ken Kalish's Escape in 82, I think it was, in North America. And a Dragon version of Breakout, Demolition Derby, which is by Spectrum, and was sold as Demolition Derby by Tandy here in North America. And then he did a couple of basic games called Duck Shoot and Skydiver. Now, Skydiver is pretty slow, and I've seen another version of it in Rainbow from way back. Duck Shoot's kind of like Duck Hunt, except you can't aim the gun. Basically, you're a little person on the lower right corner, and you're firing up diagonally against these birds that are flying across, and the bigger ones are worth less points than the smaller ones because they're harder to hit. Only one shot on the screen at once, and you're always firing at this fixed angle, so you have to kind of shoot ahead type thing. That one I suspect might have some ML routines, or the guy really knows his get puts well, because it actually runs at a pretty decent clip for a basic game. I won't play them here because we're going to be a little bit limited on time, but you can definitely go check those out. And he's playing, from the looks of his description on the page here, he's got rough plans of doing a Dragon video at 6 p.m. UK time every weekday. I don't know if he's strictly adhered to that, but that's his goal. And he does some other stuff too. You can see on the screen here, he's done some more modern machines in Windows 9X, but interesting to see what else he comes up with. Expert Tech, which is a channel we covered before. He's got a real CoCo 2 running on a monochrome amber monitor. And he decided to do 2 videos this week covering Sailorman. So one was on skill level 4, one was on skill level 5. For those of you who played Sailorman quite a bit, skill level 5 is where they add the little bouncing faces that are coming at you, as well as everything else that is normally going on. I'm not going to play the videos here because, a lot of us have played Sailorman before. It's been featured on the CoCo show. We've had it as a game on challenge years ago. But one thing I did notice is that his high score is like 924,000. So obviously he's really good at this game. And this version that he has actually been patched somewhat for Spanish. So there's some of the prompts, not all of them, but some of the prompts are actually in Spanish. I don't know if that was a hack or if that was an official thing. So anyway, there's a little bit of coolness in there. And he's definitely a good player. He goes through all 3 levels on both level 4 screen levels on level 4 and 5 of gameplay pretty easily. So I suspect that 924,000 score of his is not a fake. He modified the score table manually. I think he actually did earn it because he looks like he's pretty darn good at this game. Another one, Brown Robin Burton. This is one I talked about a while ago. He was originally supposed to be doing a live stream playing Donkey Kong Remix. And unfortunately, due to real life stuff, he just wasn't able to do it. He tried a couple of times, I guess, and then, there was noise and stuff in his household and stuff, and he just couldn't do it. So he's going to be doing pre-record. So the first one he did is just the standard Sockmaster, the original transcode that started them all. Sockmaster's original Donkey Kong port from, was it 2007? I can't remember off the top of my head. So he goes through and plays that on a, CoCo 3, real CoCo 3. Now, one thing he mentioned in his description of this that I did not know before is that he was born in the same year that this transcode came out. So he's young. He's not somebody that's been around the scene for a while. He was born in 2007, so he's just a teenager. And to watch him be as excited about this game as he is, and he's planning on doing the remix version later on, that's good. I like to see that there's new blood coming into the community, and that younger people are impressed with what the CoCo is able to do. I should mention all of these, of course, will be in the show notes too, so that you guys can just hit the Discord and go directly to these links if you want to watch these full videos or get full explanations. Next up, we have Yagi Boat, and I think we covered him with SepTandy last year, if I remember correctly. And he decided to make a quick little video called Game Time. So he's planning on doing a few of these over the course of SepTandy. The first one he did is Checker King, which is the original Checkers cartridge, one of the original release titles for the CoCo 1 in 1980. And he didn't have the manual, I think, so he's kind of like learning as he goes what different keys and stuff do. And we've all seen Checker King, so I'm not going to play that again here. But this is just the first of a series of videos that he's planning on doing for SepTandy. So I'm interested to see what other games he's going to pick. And you also notice he's got a back bit, which is kind of a competitor to the SDC. The interface for it is not too bad, but it's nothing as slick as the STC one. So I still prefer the STC itself. But on the other hand, the back bit is one that is capable of plugging into multiple retro machines and works with all of them with these little adapter boards. So if you have a large retro machine collection and you go between them all the time, that actually might be a better fit. If you're, not able to afford getting, STCs and their equivalents for all the different machines separately, you can get this one to get them all type thing and just get the little adapters. Yep.
I was looking at that, wondering if it'll fit in a multi-pack.
A back bit?
Back bit? Yeah, I don't know. Anybody here know?
Why wouldn't it?
Because it's like L-shaped backwards, It goes.
Oh, it might block a slot.
Yeah, unless you put in slot one, like if it angles out enough, it should be able to go in slot one and just kind of go over the edge of the multi-pack towards you.
There you go. Either the first slot or the last slot.
Well, if you did the last slot, wouldn't it stick out over top slots 3 and 2 or whatever, and then block those?
I don't know which way it turns.
One way or the other, but the slot select switch is your friend. So
yeah. Yeah, we covered the back bit a while ago because they originally thought that the CoCo only had cassette and cartridges, and then they added disc support. I don't think they have VHD support yet, so they can't run hard drive images, but they do have disc support now, so you can play all the CoCo 1, 2, 3 games that came on disc or cassette or cart now. And lastly, I think this is the one that Sloopy was alluding to earlier. So this is cross-gen play. And Sloopy, you know a bit about this video? Wake up, Sloopy.
He's probably playing Neutroid.
Oh, why is he wasting his life away like that?
I thought you said those days were over.
I'm just trying to stir him up to get him awake here to talk, but really not.
Are you sure you're trying to stir Sloopy up or Nick?
Well, 2 for 1 special. What can I say?
Curtis, you sound like a father in the 80s. Don't waste your life away on that machine.
What do you want to do with your life?
Yeah.
Computers will never go anywhere.
Yeah.
So cross-gen gameplay, the name of the YouTube channel, I correct me if I'm wrong, that's Geek with Social Skills, who's actually in our chat right now and is also now in our Discord under a different name I can't remember that Slippy mentioned earlier.
No, this is not GWSS.
Oh, it isn't? Okay.
No, this is somebody else.
Oh, okay. So anyway, they decided to do a Tandy Color Classics gameplay showcase, and you can see what they've got as equipment here. So they have a CoCo 3, the back bit as well. They also have like OS9 level 2 with the manual, the CoCo 3 manuals, inside OS9 level 2. And he just randomly picks games, and sometimes he randomly picks demos by accident. So it's just kind of a wing and a prayer 2 hours, stream. Some games he figured out how to play, some he didn't. I think he didn't realize that there's no standard for joysticks being in the left or right port, because he'd find some that the game worked and he played for a couple minutes, and there's other ones where if he couldn't get it running on the keyboard or the joystick that was plugged in, he would just immediately switch to another game. So I don't know how familiar. I'm guessing he probably just got the CoCo 3 and peripherals here recently. But if you guys want to go there and maybe comment, like watch his stream and some of the games he tried, maybe comment and give him some tips and tricks and stuff for getting stuff going. And maybe we can get him to join the active community on the Discord.
I'll try to be nice.
Let him know there's a hardware solution for his joystick woes.
Well, he's got your switcheroo already, so he should be aware of it.
I would hope so.
Because he did know enough that if it's an artifacting game, flick the switch and get color. He didn't know about switching the color sets, unfortunately, but because he played Pegasus and the Phantom Riders, I think it was with a blood red sky.
How metal.
Anyway, I'm expecting a lot more SepTandy game stuff to be happening here over the next month. So looking forward to seeing all that. Hopefully we get some other new people that have never really had a CoCo before or gotten a CoCo in the last month or two and have kind of left it sitting for an unboxing video to start a series of videos up on YouTube. So since we're only on the second day of SepTandy, hope there's a ton of stuff coming. And now I'm going to switch to the other regular news stuff, which Oop, that actually stopped it outright. I didn't want to do that. Oh well. Screen sharing has failed to start. Please try again later. What?
Whack it on the side. Hit it again.
Is it plugged in?
Well, at least it said later and not tomorrow.
You borrow some bandwidth?
There.
I don't know what that was. I've never seen that before. Okay, so on to the regular news. The first one here, Terror City Retro Programming. I know he was kind of on a vacation the last month or so, which is why he did quite a few videos on Tales of Suburbia, on the, working with that skeleton of a program I'd started back in '86, which is what this video is based on. But now he's back to his regular scheduled work schedule, and he's going to be fewer and farther between. And this one here, he basically is kind of changed the concept of the game as I'd originally thought of it, but I never got far enough to really have a concept, so I can't really blame him. But he decided to just do a little sub video on showing how to write a basic program using circle commands, etc., and arcs to draw the yin yang symbol, which he actually put into the game, and he actually is spinning around in the game demo that he's done earlier. I won't play the video here because it's kind of him going through explaining how to draw his normal learn as you go technique. So it's 20 minutes, but you can go check that out. CoCo Town has been extremely busy this week. He cranked out 4 videos that I know of. And originally I was going to play, chunks of some of these. I'm probably going to cut them down a little bit here since Nick and I have to be gone in less than 40 minutes. But the first one here, he's learning how to access disk files directly from the disk basic ROM routines in assembly language.
No,
now I'm going to, sorry, what?
Nothing at all.
So this one here, I do want to do a caveat to this, which I did mention in the comments. He's calling the routines directly. He's not going through DiskCon. DiskCon is very low level. It's basically sector reads and writes. So you have to worry about how the directory is structured. You have to worry about the granular allocation table, which is a pain in the butt, and it's one of the reasons I like OS9. But I will mention that because we went through this in '82, when Tandy released the original Disk Basic 1.0, a lot of people wrote their code like this. Telewriter, Supercolor Writer, a bunch of commercial programs all wrote direct ROM calls because it was so much easier than having to handle all the disk file system functionality yourself rather than just raw disk. When Disk Basic 1.1 came out, all those ROM routines moved, and that broke everything.
Thank you, Mark.
Sorry?
Thank you, Mark. Mark Siegel.
Yeah. So they made room for this DOS command, but everything shifted and then everything crashed. So Telewriter, you can no longer load and save your text file. Same with Supercolor Writer. Like there's just a ton of stuff that broke. And gradually all the developers had to fix things up. And if anybody had written a program and then left the CoCo, then you had to try to figure out how to patch it yourself. Some stuff never did. But I remember this was a huge stink when it happened. And the way he's doing it here, I mean, obviously Tandy's not going to be bringing out any new versions of Disk Basic soon, but we do have alternative DOSes that people have done. Like there's, Star DOS from Star Kits from Peter Stark. There's Arthur Flexer, ADOS 3, ADOS 3 Extended, CDOS by Stefano from Disto. There's a few others, I'm sure. Oh, JDOS, that's another one. That one's a bit more incompatible to begin with. So you have to be careful when you're doing these direct calls. Like, I mean, Arthur Flexer, I think, has tried to keep the main entry points to routines that existed in the existing Disk Basic 1.1 to stay in the same spot. And he's added all the new code after that because there was a chunk free at the end of the 8K ROM. And then ADOS 3 and extended ADOS actually goes to a full 16K ROM. So there's a ton of stuff that never would have been used before. But just to, be careful that when you start doing direct calls into ROMs, especially if the ROMs that can get flashed or upgraded later on, if you don't make it backwards compatible with entry points for the common routines that you want to try to do, you might break code. You might actually cause it to jump into code that will rewrite your floppy because you think you're calling a read routine and you might be calling a disk-any routine instead now because it moved. And you could actually damage the contents of your disk. So I gave him the caveat. And we went through this back in '82. So but anyway, he shows you how to use it. And as long as you maybe do a check at the beginning of your program to make sure the DOS is something you're expecting, like Disk Basic 1.1 or whatever, or STC DOS, whatever, then you can probably give a warning to the user, this is an unknown DOS. I'm not sure if this is going to work. Do you want me to try anyway? Just to give the user a bit of a warning. And it's a really extensive, really well done going through how he goes through Unraveled and how it works. And then he goes through a little follow-up video where he found out he did an error in the previous one. And he's done these a few times. It's kind of, figuring out after the video's released, what did I miss there? So in this case here, I think if I remember correctly, he forgot to close the file first before trying to read a second file. So it's not handling the buffers correctly. Once again, you can watch the video for that one. This one here, and this is the one that I believe is inspired by our very own David Ladd. Because David had mentioned this thing on the show that we talked about briefly, and this is kind of a follow-up to that little discussion we had on the show. So this one I will play the beginning of. It's just so you understand what it's about. And then he basically takes David's idea and runs with it. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll play the part that kind of explains what the video is about, and then you can go watch the rest of it on your own.
Previously on the CoCo Nation.
Once he went to the higher resolution, I'm like, it's freezing up, and I'm like, oh, he's going into the disk basic variable area. Although going into that mode would be nifty when you do disk IO, so you could see
you watch the buffers go by.
Yes, you can watch all the variables and the disk data show up on the screen. That's always nifty to watch.
And that's like David Ladd nerd heaven right there, I think, being able to watch the buffers.
Yeah.
We here at CoCo Town are all about making your dreams come true. So today we're going to take a look at the various disk buffers, those areas of memory, by pointing the VDG to them while we run the code that I've been showing the past couple videos. This code simply opens a text file, reads the bytes, and then prints them to the screen. But we're not going to see the printing because we're going to be busy looking at other areas. First, we're going to look at the area of RAM starting at
Anyway, so basically he took David's idea and ran with it. And I notified David about the video earlier this week. And actually, since you're here, David, I was just wondering, what did you think?
I was like, ooh.
I think David goes really good with creepy music.
Oh, now, Tim, you don't know how low we go.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. It's pretty obvious just listening to you, David.
We all do.
Hey.
No, but seriously, what did you think about him actually kind of demonstrating exactly what you would thought would be a speculative fun?
It was great. I liked it. It's just some of the things that you find out as you're exploring one thing, and then you find out how Microsoft or other people laid out memory for doing different things. I'm personally surprised that they didn't take the disk buffers and put it at the right above the stack. So that way it would have shifted the stack down, and then it would have kept all the memory for all the previous basics.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had all the broken compatibility between cassette and disk then, yeah.
After I watched this video, I thought it would be a cool idea to take a RAM checking utility and hook up the joystick so that you could scan through memory, watching it scan RAM.
Yeah, just have a sliding window through it.
Yeah.
Now, I did want to mention one other thing in here that he actually just showed. So we can go back up. Which is the disk motor timer out thing here. That thing that's
you can watch it counting down.
Yeah,
because I mean, if you load a game that was designed for cassette, Hopman is one of them. If you load a game designed for cassette, it puts the graphics screen right over top these buffers we're looking at through the VDG on this video. And you can actually, if anything gets written to there, the interrupt routine will suddenly kick in, and you'll watch little graphic pixels cycle through that same memory location on the screen. And if you run Hopman, the CoCo 1 and 2 version, for example, and you run it, you will see that, and it's always in the upper left portion of the screen. And if you actually play a game where you can guide your character or the monsters or whatever you're going against can go through that same area, eventually it will crash the machine because the routine gets completely confused because you're screwing around the timer constantly, and the interrupt counter and stuff just gets mashed up, and eventually the game, like Grabber's a good example, because the cassette version of Grabber that's floating around, if you play it for too long and you drive through that one area too many times, it just locks the whole game right up. So that's one way to telltale if that's happening, because basically you're doing the same thing that CoCo Town did here, except you're doing it with a graphic screen rather than a VDG screen. Now, the advantage of the VDG screen, of course, you can see text, like you can see like the name of a file here in the disk buffer. On the graphic screen, you can't see that, but you can see stuff like timers running because you can watch the pixel patterns go through. So I just wanted to mention that because that's the same thing that's happening there. It's just happening on the graphic screen instead. But I thought it was kind of nice. He actually gave a shout out to David Ladd. And he actually watches our show. That's awesome.
Oh, it's always great to know that people watch what you produce.
Yeah.
I'm also amazed that David Ladd watches the show.
Yeah. And then his last one this week, the fourth one. So he's doing SepTandy before SepTandy even started. This is showing how to use a tool by Eric Canales called LST2CMT, list to comment, which takes assembly source code lines that are output with comments and labels from LWASM, and then you can import them. And Tim, you probably know a lot more about this than I do, but you can actually link this into actual code in MAME so that when you're looking at a debugging disassembly window, instead of just seeing the raw, story at 4,000, it'll actually use the label. So they story at players left or something like that. Am I understanding that correct?
There's a feature in MAME where as you're debugging a driver, you can attach comments to memory locations, and you can do it incrementally as you're debugging, and then when you get to a point, you can save it to a file. And somebody had the bright idea of going the other way, of having an assembler create the file so that you can load in assembly comments.
Okay. And basically what CoCo Town has done here is he showed you how to do that with the particular workflow that he uses. And like you can see on the screenshot that I've got here, like I said, this is a thumbnail. I'm not going to play the thing here, but the one that's highlighted in yellow right now on the actual debugger, this is what you would normally see if you don't have any file linked to it. It says load Y at 3FB2, for example, from the memory address 3FB2, which, if you're trying to debug a program, even if it's one you wrote yourself, you have to try to remember what memory addresses actually all those labels you typed in actually mean. So you have to constantly back reference to your code or a disassembly of the code that actually shows the memory addresses as it's progressing through the assembly to figure out what the heck is that at. But you can see on the right side here, the one that links to the comments, as Tim was mentioning, now says load Y at file info cur. So you've actually got a label that makes sense to you because you wrote that label name yourself originally. And now you know exactly where in the code you are and what it's doing without having to cross-reference memory address locations. So this is definitely would speed up a lot of debugging. I'll have to use this myself one of these days.
You're Mr. Relocatable. I'm sorry, it's never going to happen.
Well, no, I use offsets quite a bit. And offsets, I would definitely label.
The LST file format doesn't support relocatable code, so you have to know where it's going to show up.
So if I set an equate, like say screen size equals 6144, and I do an LAX screen size comma Y, it won't link that?
Well, this utility doesn't do labels. It just adds comments to memory locations.
Well, how come it's showing the label? Oh, these are comment. I see what you mean. Okay. So it's literally a comment portion of the line, not linking in a memory address to it, like not doing the equates, basically.
Right.
Ah, okay. I misunderstood that. I thought it was doing both. So you guys have to get on that, obviously.
Oh, I got plans.
Woohoo. Cool. Now you got me excited. Now this is more exciting than Neutroid.
Calm down.
Not possible.
I'm just going to get prepped up for the ICC show later. Now, we were talking about the sprite compiler earlier that Paul Thayer was demonstrating there. And after he posted that video, quite a few people were asking about the sprite compiler because not too many people had heard of it yet. And I mean, Paul's kind of demoed it before, but this is the first time, to my knowledge, he's released it publicly. He's given it to a few developers specifically to try. But on our Discord, and it's in the assembly section under programming and development, and you'll have to scroll up now because a lot of people are commenting on it, but basically you can download the current alpha of it, and there's a little demonstration of it on the screen there where you can see the sprite data itself, the colors rendered on screen, and then the data statements and FCB statements that it generates on the right upper corner, which shows you basically the raw byte values of the color data And then below that is the actual compiled sprite version, which is actually doing the loads and the stores and the push pulls. It actually kind of analyzes the sprite, tries to figure out what's the best way to speed it up. And as I
without
mentioned,
regard to code size.
yeah, I was just going to mention, yeah, it usually makes your code a lot bigger. He's been talking about possibly letting you kind of balance that yourself, where you can try to do it a bit more size friendly, still faster
you can
than doing
set
it
a
raw.
slider, maybe.
Yeah, something like that, I would guess. Which would be kind of interesting, because sometimes if you're trying to get a game to fit in like a 16K CoCo, for example, you don't want to do too much. Or
Well,
you
he
know,
does target the CoCo 3, so you got that going for you.
Oh, it doesn't work on the CoCo 1 and 2 at all? You can't pick like the CoCo 1 and 2 supports modes with less than 16 colors, so I thought it might be usable on both.
I believe his algorithms are hard coded for 16 colors.
Ah, okay. Okay, so 128K CoCo, then, if you want to have like a large number of tiles and stuff, you might be able to press, or sound effect, files like digitized sound samples and stuff like that. You might want to balance it a bit more, get some extra speed by doing some things intelligently, but not go completely all out where it's like 5 times the size. Anyway, for those of you who want to give it a shot, you can actually get it off the CoCo Discord. So, and then give some feedback to Paul.
Yep.
Next up, Bill Noble finally got a Symphony 12 back. He actually had one of these back when they were brand new. And Symphony 12 was a card that I think Jim Brain is actually duplicating. I'm trying to remember what he calls his new one, but it's basically
the Philharmonic.
Okay.
The Philharmonic 12.
Okay, because that has 4 sound chips basically, which is
it's just the right amount.
Yeah, it's 4 regular voices and 4 noise channels. I think, is that what each chip has?
3 and 3, I think.
It's 4 AY3 sound chips.
Okay, but that has 3 voices per chip plus a white noise.
No. It's 3 voices.
Okay, that's what I was trying to remember. I can remember it's 4 and 1 and 3 on it. So basically what he's got here is he's got the manual and he's got the actual Symphony 12 with the 4 chips on it, but he also got one of the keyboards. And there was a couple different keyboards with a different number of keys, different number of octaves that was on sale from Speech Systems when they were selling these. And I think this is the 4-octave keyboard he got. And basically, it's basically just a PIA, and he's just figuring out right now how that maps whatever keys you hit to send back to the CoCo, because you need obviously software to drive it. And he's actually been experimenting with the Symphony 12 combined with this, and actually he's gotten parts of it working now, even under Nitrous 9. So he's actually going to be pushing that a bit forward, maybe even write a driver to kind of handle the whole thing. So you could do some pretty amazing sound effects. But now that he's got this going here, you might be able to help, develop some software that can be used with Jim Brain's clone of the Symphony 12. Though I don't think Jim has anything for handling the keyboards here, if you're actually a musician that can play them. Well, keep an eye on that project. Next up, we have the final part 3 from Chibi Akumis, whose real name is Keith. Did I pronounce that right, Tim?
Yes, you did.
Woo-hoo.
It just needs repeating.
So anyway, he's been doing, I guess, the lesser known CPU. So he's doing this one. He's doing the 65816. I think he considers one of these. Basically ones that weren't quite mainstream, like a 6809, 6800, 6502, Z80, 8088, etc. So he's been covering it in great detail and, making comments on, some commands that are really cool and really awesome. And some other ones that you kind of go like, why did you bother? Which is the same thing a lot of us have done. But his last chunk here, he's been covering pushing and pulling W onto the stack using the TFM command. He was speculating, why would you have a TFM command that copies from one single memory location to multiple and vice versa? Obviously, that's for memory map.io, so you can read a disk sector off of a hard drive, or blast something out to a graphics card, or fill a screen with a byte. Like if you want to clear a screen white, you can just have it, point to a memory location with the byte you want to clear the screen with, and you can just TFM that one location straight to the entire size of the screen. Though I will mention, if you're doing that, if you do clever push instructions, you can actually do it a bit faster that way than you can with TFM. TFM is faster on copying, but on a single source repeating the same byte over and over, you can actually do a bit faster using push. But yeah, he goes through the hardware multiply commands, hardware divide commands, a bunch of the bit mode operation stuff, which is stuff I haven't used too much, though. There's a couple of those that are really good for doing I/O as well, or copies of I/O registers anyway, where you can take load bit 5 from here and put it into bit 2 over here in one instruction. and that saves you a lot of shifts and etc. So anyway, he's got all 3 parts up now. He's got both a web page version you can go through and read, and then he's also got the 3 videos that cover the same thing. And of course, he sells a book with 609, etc. The CoCo crew, which is on hiatus, is still having a few things that Boise have been doing. So he's been doing a series called CoCo Conversations, where you find some luminaries, past or present, from the CoCo community. And this one he interviewed here this last week and posted is Keith Alfonso from AlphaSoft. Now, he did a lot of OS9 related stuff. He did like Presto Partner, Data Windows, the OS9 Level 2 BBS, which is a multi-user, multi-line BBS. I ran it myself for a while, and a bunch of other utilities, etc. So it's a pretty cool interview. And Keith is somebody I've actually met at Rainbow Fest in person. And then Bill and Noble and I we got our work to buy the OS9 Level 2 BBS because we wanted some of the utilities he had. Because one of his nice ones was a multi-user chat. Like there's a lot of sysop chat. You talk directly to the sysop on the keyboard. But there wasn't too many for the CoCo that you could actually talk with multiple people at multiple phone lines coming in. Well, at work, we had 8 terminals set up, scattered throughout the plant in sales, the president's office, by the press, etc. And we actually did set up multi-user chats with that. You know, the sales team wanted to talk to the press people, but they had to stay in their office waiting for a phone call or something like that. And we actually used some of these utilities. We did modify a few of them, and Keith actually sent a source code for a few of these, which I got to see if I still have. That might have crashed, but the drive crashed. But I even put a comment in here because, I mean, Keith, we talked on the phone a few times back in the day, late 80s, early 90s type thing. He was very helpful, very friendly guy. But a really good interview. He kind of covers some of the stuff he did, how he got into the CoCo in the first place, how he got into OS9 in the first place, how he got into writing a BBS in the first place, etc. But he did a lot of really cool stuff. I'm actually friends with him on Facebook. He's recently remarried and it's just seems as happy as can be. He's just having a blast. Life's good.
He's playing for math tutor, is he?
Nope. He's not doing anything like of the sort. Next up, we have Alan AC's 8-Bit Zone. Now, Brian Weezer already kind of covered this at the beginning here, but basically this announcement that he's got on his page is that the CoCo DV, which is his HDMI output solution for the CoCo 1 and 2.
With extra features?
Yeah, with a lot of extra features. And if you've seen his little Pac-Man demo, you'll see why. But now this is the official announcement that is also now is available to the Dragon. And even thanks Brian in the video here because Brian lent him a couple of Dragon systems to try it on. So now you've got another option in the UK, and there's a few options already there from like Dragon Plus Electronics, etc. But you got another option here that adds, extra graphics modes, more color. It's kind of like a CoCo VGA style, with some different features, sprites, hardware sprites. I think are in there if I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, because I'm running off memory here.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, so it's a lot of extra hardware that you can use with an HDMI output, which means you can hook it up to any modern TV and get crystal clear images. And it's now available for CoCo 1s and 2s and the Dragon 32, Dragon 64, and the Tano Dragon. And so if you want to support him, obviously he's been on the show many times before. He's usually in our chat. He's not too busy with real life. And go check it out. This is the video I think.
Yes.
Is Geek with Social Skills.
That's him.
It actually says that right there. So since some of you guys are actually friends with him, I've never met him. So, Tim, do you know him fairly well, or?
Yeah, we happen to be neighbors. He's just over the river. He's been YouTubing for quite a number of years. Has a good following, and we met. We actually met through Amy and Taylor.
Was that when you guys did the big joystick exchange?
Yeah, that's when we did the big joystick exchange. He was decreed to be the third recipient of the big ass joystick.
So before we get into the CoCo video part, what happened to that? Did it keep getting passed on, or did it?
It's to the fourth person, and it sort of stalled. I don't think their video has come out yet. So
okay,
hopefully they get on it, and because we'd like to see that go far and wide. But this is a video of Geek just showing off some of his new acquisitions that are SepTandy related. He has some nice stuff.
Now, was any of this from you personally, or is this stuff he picked up on eBay?
He shows some of my box, like that disk drive and disk controller I gave him. And he also shows some of the boxes that he bought and that I gave him, and some things from some other friends of his.
Okay. Now the boxes you're talking about, those are the program pack remake boxes you made back when you still worked at a print shop, correct?
Yeah.
And ironically enough, now demand has really gone up, and now you don't have any left.
There's not really a demand. I have about 50 left that I'm keeping for trades.
Well, Frank bought a bunch off you, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He was the So Frank has a lot, actually. I don't know if he's going to sell them individually. He made it sound like he had a project that they were going to go with.
Well, his diagnostic pack he sells them in.
Oh, okay.
And he sold a fair number of those at the show already. So
yep.
Now, have you given any thought to getting them redone, or are you planning on giving away the files?
I got a quote, and it went from $1 a box to $3 a box. And,
yeah, paper costs have gone nuts. I know that from my end of the industry.
And I just can't afford that. So
now, if you got a pre-order or something, or
I suppose something like that could happen, but it's not really likely. Neil Blanchard did say he might want to try to get them printed. He was more willing to work with some Chinese manufacturers than I was.
Okay.
But I haven't heard back from him.
Because every once in a while I hear that, and here's a picture of it right now in the unfolded state. Now, you had mentioned something I did not know. Apparently, you've changed the design a bit. There's a lock thing at the top you've removed.
Yeah, you can see that little piece of paper coming out the top left-hand side there. And the normal program pack boxes have an auto lock on top. And if you're not careful, you can tear them.
Yep.
And I wanted
quite a few mine.
Yeah, I wanted these to be, used. I wanted them to keep your collection in when you're not playing them. So these boxes, the ones I made, have a little clipping flap that will keep it closed, and you can open and close them very easily, and you in no danger of ripping the boxes.
Cool. Yeah. Because that's one annoying thing about the Tandy ones that I found, that the repeated opening and closing it eventually just ripped right off.
Yep, that's what it's supposed to do.
There's a couple carts. You didn't supply the carts, did you?
No, I didn't. And I really do have to mention, I came up with a really good joke, because he mispronounces Daggerath.
Yeah, I saw that in the comments
throughout the entire video. So
Daggerath, I think he called it.
Yeah, he kept saying Daggerath, and I did a comment. I'm going to say it. I did a comment saying that my favorite singer was Daggerly the Roth. Daggerly Roth. I thought of that all.
It'd be Daggerly Wrath, though, wouldn't it? You have to flip it.
Well, if it's a CoCo game, it would be Daggerly the Wrath. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking the lead singer of Van Halen is David Lee Roth, but because I made a comment on these two cartridges, which I'm not sure where he got these from, Arkanoid and Tetris, but those are fat binaries. So that was one of the things where Tandy was actually quite friendly, because if you had a CoCo 1 2 bought these games, you could play them, and if you bought a CoCo 3 later, the game was upgraded for free, because all of a sudden it would use the extended ROM.
So go subscribe to his channel, even though he's a Commodore user.
Well, he's slowly converting.
Slowly.
And look at this. He actually buys Nick's stuff.
Yes. I didn't even have to goad him into that. He did that all on his own.
Another one buying stuff just to shut me up.
It's not working, though. Look how long you talked today.
Sorry.
Yeah, I may or may not have had a hand in pushing him towards Nick's stuff.
And this is the main point of this, and I don't think he got this from you. I think this was somebody else.
Wow, that's nice looking.
But it's a CoCo 3, 128K stock, not even got the warranty label removed, and it's in pristine shape.
Yep.
It's white, it's not yellowed. And of course, he promptly mentioned here he's going to be hacking it open and putting a 609 in and upgrading RAM, et cetera, which is
he's
necessary.
got all that lined up.
Yeah.
We got
more videos coming.
Hope he's careful when he sockets that CPU.
I think he knows what he's doing, Tim, I would guess.
Yes, he's very experienced with soldering iron.
Yeah. He's not going to do what Rick was demonstrating at the beginning of the show, which is how I treat my hair.
Right.
Just got to watch those cheap Tandy boards.
So anyway, check out Geek with Social Skills on YouTube. And what is his name in the Discord? If you want to talk to him and ask questions in the Discord.
It's Sean something.
Sean Rocks, SCANROX.
Okay, I'm guessing Sean is actually his name then.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm guessing Rocks is not his name unless he was an 80s metal band guy.
No, he just rocks.
Okay, now we also got some Dragon news coming up here. So John Whitworth of Dragon Plus Electronics has mentioned that he's now got the Super RGB and companion boards are now available, which is actually what Brian was demonstrating. Brian was demonstrating CoCo. Similar concept though, but this now works on the Dragon 32 64 and CoCo 1s and 2s. In the CoCo 2's case, he's got versions that work both with the original VDG and the lowercase enhanced T1 variant, which does have a different pinout. It also works with both PAL and NTSC, and it provides RGB output for these machines rather than the RF composite, and meant to plug into a SCART adapter like the switcheroo that Jason sells at cocoman.biz. So you've got little mock-ups here what the board looks like. You can zoom in, take a look at it. Parts of these can be sold in kit form. Some of them are mostly assembled. There's some optional pieces you can get that you don't have to have, but you can get. With a DIN 8 output board or SAM breakout board, etc. If you want details on those, we've covered these much more extensively on previous episodes, and I'm not going to go repeat them all here. But they actually are in stock if you want to order some from Dragon Plus Electronics in the UK. Next up on the Dragon, we've got Davey Mitchell, who's known as Davey's Retro Corner on YouTube, who's done another type-in port and another one that he's done a few minor improvements on. So this is a program originally by Simon Strong in 1983 called Planets. And this came from a book called The Best of PCW, which is a magazine in the UK for the Dragon 32. And basically, from what I can tell, it basically shows in not real time, but proportionate real time, the rotation of the inner planets around the sun. And it's a little bit slow because it's writing out the text names of all of them here, so you can see the inner planets here from Mercury to Mars before you get to the asteroid belt and the position of the sun. And then it'll kind of show them rotating, like it'll show that Mercury's orbit goes much faster than Venus's orbit, which goes faster than Earth, which goes faster than Mars. So you can kind of see the relative. This is one I think Ron would like because it's right up his alley here with the astronomy stuff. But he did a couple minor improvements to it as well. He, I don't know if you remember.
So it's just the words rotating, or is there a planet there that I can't see?
No, it's just the words as far as I can tell.
Okay.
And I didn't fully check to see if these are real constellations. So this is where you would actually see it in the night sky if you looked up. Like this kind of looks like Cassiopeia, but I can't tell for sure.
Well, theoretically, you'd be above the plane of the solar system, and who knows what we'd see.
Yeah, that's true. But I think it's basically calculating the relative speeds of each orbit so that you're proportionally getting, how fast each one goes around the sun.
Now, here would be a great opportunity for compiled sprites.
Yeah. Or just compiled. Because that's plain old basic there.
Oh, okay. Well, put that sucker.
Yeah, well, he's trying to keep the stars in the background, so you have to keep redrawing the stars and slow it down a bit. But yeah, especially an even byte line get put would be much, much faster. And then Julian Brown, that's the last story here from the Dragon and last story for the news this week. Has put up multiple updates on the Dragon group on Facebook throughout the week here of his keyboard upgrade. And he still has a bit of work left to do on the software side of things. Like the hardware, he's got all the spacers measured right now. It sits at the right height, fits perfectly in. He's been going through trying to get certain key combinations that weren't working. So now he's going back to a more simple one. I think yesterday or this morning, he just posted about some Microsoft utility that he's found that might actually help solve these last few problems for remapping keys, etc. So it looks like this project's getting pretty close. I know he's in the chat earlier. You can probably explain it a lot better than I. Does Curtis explode in 10 minutes if he's still reading these from 60 in the chat? We'll see, won't we? I might be like a drummer from Spinal Tap.
I think you return to your mouse form.
1 or 2 button.
Oh, I was thinking rodent. I was going for a Cinderella joke.
I had to bring it back to CoCo somehow. All right, that's the news for this week. We're expecting a lot more SepTandy stuff. I did see that Mark has updated me in a whole bunch of trade shows that are coming up over the next couple months, so I'll start adding those in the news in the following weeks so that people have warnings about them.
My SepTandy video drops tomorrow.
You're just doing one?
Yeah, probably just one.
Are you and AJ doing any Tandy specific games here?
Sibling rivalry. We're gonna co-op the thing, and we're gonna put a little fun SepTandy bumper in front of the next CoCo game.
Okay. I really hope you guys cover Invaders by Creative Computing, because that's a really good cooperative, I guess cooperative 2-player simultaneous.
Space I have Invaders. A text file that I'm supposed to write these kind of things down in, so let me do that right now.
I think I sent it to you directly before, if I remember, months ago. You might have to run raw mail or something, because I think it's cassette based.
So tomorrow, look for my video, a deep dive on the X-Pad.
Oh, cool. I can correspond that with what Bill was telling me about his, because he's got his running up and running again too. And Mark just provided a link to your and AJ's channel.
Yeah, is there a different one for your stuff?
Yeah, I'll put it in myself.
Okie dokie.
Okay, well, that's the news. Nick and I have got 5 minutes left, so we can hang around for a bit.
How will we find the next thing you guys are going to? Is it on Twitch?
Oh, the ICC. You can do that on Twitch. If you go to what the heck is the name of their channel on Twitch?
By the way, Curtis, 60 was hoping you could explain like Nitrous 9 in the next 6 minutes or so.
Get it, download it, live it. There you go.
Hey, Rick, it looks like you're going to turn into that guy that melts. Yeah,
yes, I'm becoming the Terminator. Yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, okay. We done?
I think we were done a long time ago.
Right. But...
Yep. I just posted the link for the Amigos Retro Gaming channel on Twitch into the chat. So if anyone wants to catch that, which will be covering a lot of retro stuff. There's people showing collections, there's people showing hardware, there's people showing software, and then there's Nick showing Neutroid again.
So if you can't get enough of Nick and Neutroid, you should join in.
Polishing the BS.
Yeah. Hopefully a lot better than you did this first round.
I'd like to know if he sells more copies during this show or the other show.
Oh, there's a good one.
Kind of
there might be some Tier City Model 1 aficionados in the other channel there, because it's a general retro gaming channel. And Nick does include the Model 1.3 version of Neutroid on the CD version.
Make up for lost sales.
Okay, ready for the outro?
Yep.
Indeed.
This concludes another episode of the CoCo Nation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCo Nation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCo Nation Show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCo Nation theme song, copyright 2022, D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCo Nation is over. Join us on the CoCo Discord server. CoCo forever.
Okay, I forgot one announcement as part of the news segment here. So we had an interview scheduled for next week with Mark P. and Charlie from portacoco.com that you guys remember from CoCo Fest. Due to circumstances beyond their control, they cannot make it next weekend, so it's going to be the following weekend on September the 16th. It's still happening, just 1 week later, so I wanted to mention that for anybody that was going to be showing up next week for that.
They're not in Florida, are they?
I have no idea where they're.
Oh.
But he let me know like at the beginning of the week, so... Yeah, if he's in northwestern Florida, they might be hit by that hurricane stuff. So, and we're still waiting for Doug Maston's recovery for when we're going to reschedule that. Probably won't be till at least October, but that'll still be happening too. I verified with him and Glenn both.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, next week.
See y'all next week.
VCF.
Hey, everyone.
Get jealous of all you VCF people next week too. But
see you at VCF Midwest next week.
No, shut
oh,
up.
yes.
That's right.